Good and fair evening, friends and companions. Welcome back to the tavern. It is so very good to see you all. Oh, the holidays are getting hectic, I'll tell you what. What? I literally just started. What are you whining about? Where are you even whining from? Babushka. Isn't babushka, isn't it Russian for grandmother? Why is Aaron running around saying babushka? 3 stream streak. Excellent. Aaron, I appreciate you for being here. Yeah, so am I Aaron's babushka? Is that the thing? Kiri, hello, hello. I am well. Busy as all get out. I haven't forgotten about your game. I have it in the works. We had some technical and some copyright issues that put me behind by like 2 or 3 weeks on work. That we're just now getting everything caught up to. My sister calls me it. I'm cackling. I love the word. Tyson, hello, hello, hello everyone. I just closed up my toolbox, headed to my car. Spectacular, drive safe, brother. Ross, good evening. Bear, good evening. Aaron, good evening. Dragon of the West, greetings. For everyone who is joining us through the YouTube portal, I feel I should warn you that YouTube had an update about a month and a half ago. Your name now appears as whatever your @handle is. It is not your usual display name. You can go in and change it, but they reverted it to whatever your @is. So, Dragon, yours is coming up as Dragon of the West 9186. For some people, it will come up as their name. So I feel the need to warn you about that if you participate in YouTube lives, that this is a thing that is happening. So, Quirt, hello, my friend, good to see you. I believe it or not, we're his brother. I know how hectic life can get. I hope everything is resolved with this. Yeah, Ashley, hello, hello, good to see you, love, welcome in. Essentially, what happened is Facebook had accused us of more or less spamming and botting, and it was obviously we don't do that, but uh, Matty, yours says Richard Texmo 9507 is what I see. A bunch of people probably missed streams when we were having all of the drops, Milu, because some people didn't come back in after they got dropped or after they skipped, so. Yeah, well, and right now, Facebook is the biggest portal to the tavern. We have, I think, like 112,000 people who follow the tavern there, and on average, we get about 8 to 900,000 people who come through for stories every month over on the tavern. So they basically were accusing us of spamming or botting, which it was just after a normal story upload. I just did what I always do, and they essentially weren't going to let me put anything out for days, and it took a little bit to get it all sorted out. But yeah, that's more or less what happened, and then we were having some issues with the camera that we use to record stories. Is I don't know why it's on its last leg because it's never been broken, it's never been dropped. It's sat where it is for the last 3 years, and it doesn't want to pair with my microphone anymore. So it's becoming a hell of a thing. Yeah, Destiny, yours says Captain Hoodie now over on YouTube. You show up as Milu88. Milu. Val, hello, good to see you. Arthur hello, hello, welcome in. Hello from Florida. Welcome to the tavern, my friend. Yeah, it was gonna be something that was gonna set us majorly back, and we've been busting our humps over here to put out a new story every single day for everybody. And we ended up missing 3 days, 3 or 4 days, because of all of that drama with Facebook. I was very, very upset about it. Maddie's children running wild in the Black Dragon Tavern, messing things up. It seems like it. Seems like they are. But it's good to see you all, friends. I'm glad that you make it in. That you made it in. I'm sad that they got rid of the teeny deenies too, Val. I don't know why they did that. It was a staple of the tavern, and they took it away. You spritzed Harold. Well, but Harold's not going to go anywhere. Harold's here permanently, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I've told him to leave several times. He won't go away. He just goes to a different closet. Destiny, love, good to see you. I don't know if I said hello to you. I think I did. I'm trying to keep up with everybody. Yeah, teeny deenies were a staple. It was the only like tipping goal I ever set was for teeny deenies, and it was because it was fun to say. Because like, I don't set any, if there's any goal on anything, I don't set it. It's just like, I think there's one down here on TikTok. I didn't set that up. It was just a part of whatever the overlay update was, and I'm just too lazy to change it. And but the only one I did set up, I would always set it up to be like $5 or something, whatever it was, and it would just be teeny deenies, and that way I could thank people when they would drop a teeny deenie, which I think they were like 50 cents. Mateus, my friend, thank you for the corn. The Corn King has joined us. Welcome in. I'm realizing now that because of the internet zeitgeist, when I call you the Corn King, it sounds like I am implying something else. I'm not. I mean actual corn, like the crop. Like the crop. Not any. There's nothing else being implied by that. Oh no, I can't. Pip on YouTube. I'm going back to Twitch. What? Pip on YouTube. I am implying nothing else. I am implying nothing else. There are actually quite a few connections between the Mexican people and the Irish people. One of the things that we tend to forget is that Mexico was basically New Spain for a good long time. Mexico was New Spain. It was actually called New Spain for a very long time before it became Mexico. And there was a lot of battling between the French and the British and the Spanish over like the different territories in the Americas between Canada and Mexico. Like all of North America was a contentious battleground for like 500 years. Well, no, not that long. About 400 years. 400 years. I was being zealous. Finally got Twitch to work on my phone. Hell yeah, Tyson. Welcome in, brother. Good to see you. But when the famines were happening in Ireland, and there were a bunch of people who were fleeing from Ireland and Scotland for various reasons, most of the time when we would get here, we would come on ships, and some of us would basically, if you were a young man and you were on a ship during a time of war when you came over, good night, the Corn King. And again, I just mean the crop. Thank you for the corn, brother. Appreciate you. Have a good night. Rest well. Ashley, make sure you give that man a big old smooch from all of us. I didn't get a notice from Facebook, just here in YouTube. I wonder why. Again, Meta has been being a little bit of a bastard to us the last couple of days. The one who confirmed this is my grandmother on my dad's side of the family. Very interesting. But during famines, especially during times like the Civil War, there was Irish folk who'd come over to the US and immediately be conscripted into the military as a stipulation of being allowed to stay as a part of the citizen rights. Now that's a very reductive way of putting it, but that's more or less what happened. And there were groups of those people, those Irish folk, especially young men, who did not want to be in the military. They were already sick of the fighting from Ireland. So as soon as they got the chance, they fled either into Canada or down to Mexico. Christine, hello, hello. So there are actually a big, rather large legends down in Mexico about the Fenians, who were young military men who fled from either the Southern Army or the Northern armies of the United States during the Civil War. And you even have little conclaves of like Irish culture that ended up in Canada because of it. Newfoundland is one of them, but a lot of the Irishmen in Newfoundland came after that point. But some of them there were as a part of that. They discovered Latinas. Well, there weren't really Latinas back then. It was just the Spanish. The Latinas had not evolved. Like we hadn't reached that point in the evolution of the people of Mexico yet. Because again, it was still New Spain. I don't know how long Mexico's been called Mexico. It's not very long. They were on a historical standard. Hang on, let me see. (1821). So yeah, so about 200 years, and before that it was New Spain. So we've really only had Latinas and Latinos for like 100 years, 150 years, Matty. Well, the Irish shagged their way everywhere. Like, that was more or less what we did. Esther, hello, I'm sorry I missed your comment. Good evening, Castle. I hope you are faring well. I must leave in 15 minutes to briefly administer oral pain medication to Suki. I will be back shortly. Make sure you're taking care of your kitty cat and Elsie. I know that they're very important, so you need to make sure you do that. All right, let's get a toot for Matty on the raid horn here real quick. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Right, and then Santa Ana happened, and Santa Ana sold off a bunch of Mexico to the United States, and there's a whole bunch of things in that history. Raids the front door again. But hello everyone and welcome in. Are we ready to start story time? Santa Ana is one of those crazy things where Irish did because I'm half Cuban. Yeah, literally when Ireland was essentially unlivable, there was a portion of time where Viking raspberries indeed. There was a portion of time where Ireland was almost unlivable because of famines and because of just in general it not being very economically sound. So there was a portion of time, probably about 150 years, where Ireland, it was very hard to survive in Ireland. Where Ireland was essentially economically like 200 years behind the rest of the world. I have a character named Aisling who, she's from the Fae from Ireland. Well, there you go. Did you bring that up because today's video was about Aisling, Teresa? The horn of the Black Dragon Tavern has been sounded. Yes, indeed, brother. Yes, indeed. All right, let's run ads for our Twitch friends. My damn computer keeps. I'm sorry, Bear. I was wondering why you're being so quiet. Normally, you're more involved in the conversation. No judgment. No judgment. You can be as loud or as quiet as you like to be. We'll love you all the same, Bear. All right, we're gonna run ads for our friends over on Twitch, and then we'll get started with story time. But yeah, the history of like the Irish people spreading throughout the world is a very interesting one. Then there are those of us that just watch. That wait, what? I have an interest in history, and I commented on Facebook. I haven't been back on to check the comments recently, but I'll be sure to get to your comment, Esther. I promise. Matthew said that without the smooches, he would have perished. We will know. We will know, and you can tell him that he's welcome. Oh. Right. Well, that's all right. I like you guys to be as involved as you like to be. Everybody, there's different levels. Like you have the very chatty folk like Erin and Matty, who love to talk and gab and just talk about things, and then you have the sort of moderators who are like Ashley and Milo and Destiny, who are sort of responding to the more chatty folk. And then you have the chime inners who are like Teresa and Bear and uh, Frost. Mindy says, "What is today's story?" Today we are reading from Raymond E. Feist's novel, A Darkness at Sethanon. This is the one that we've been doing on Tuesdays for a while now. We're about halfway through. We'll probably have this story up until probably about the third week in January. Is probably about how long this will last us. The chapters in this book are very long, so we end up powering through quite a chunk of it every time we do a chapter. Yeah, Aaron yaps for a bit and then falls asleep. Yeah, this is totally an acceptable way to join the tavern. That's true. You and I, but again, like you guys are usually driving the secondary part of the like responding to what other people are saying and driving the conversation rather than being like Maddie who just brings up fever dreams constantly. Matty and Erin who are just talking about their fever dreams all the time. The Hypnotist, thank you for the follow over on YouTube. You have now marked the tavern on your map. You should be able to find your way back the next time you desire a story. Yeah, you usually do drop off after about the first hour, Erin, especially if we're getting on after 5 p.m. I need to start getting back to 4, but the holidays have been kicking my butt. Coffee makes me yap a lot. It's funny, the lady is a coffee addict. Absolutely a coffee addict. And but she doesn't get talkative. She doesn't get uppity with her coffee. She just sips all day. Matty and Erin are constantly on a shared acid trip and must provide commentary to the rest of us. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Walking home from mom's hot cocoa and from my mom's hot cocoa and a new heavy blanket. I wish I could use heavy blankets. Did somebody Oh, Kiri, my friend, thank you for the sub, my friend. I appreciate you. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated you, bleeding legend. Thank you kindly, my friend. And my dinner for tonight is chicken, eggs, and potato with a gallon of water ready. Whew. You gotta hit that whole gallon through the night. It's deeply appreciated, mate. I appreciate you. Love coffee, not too much. The lady loves coffee almost more than she loves me. I'm not going to say more than, but almost. Erin witnessed the wedding of Burger King and Dairy Queen under a Taco Bell inside of the Grand White Castle. See what I mean? And like, I know that that's kind of like an internet meme, but only Matty would bring it up during a polite conversation. I did have to go back and rewrite how Aisling talks. Because she's Irish, I think she talks beautiful. Some people, like, you either love the Irish accent or you hate it. And it's funny because I get grief all the time because of my accent. Because my accent's been very influenced by the places that I've lived. So I don't sound strictly like I'm from anywhere in Ireland. But I also sound vaguely Scandinavian. And I have some words that I overpronounce because Americans don't understand you if you just talk like you would in Ireland, or if you Like if I talked like my family talk, some people just wouldn't understand me. So I over enunciate some words, and that makes me sound even stranger. So I get all kinds of mix in my comments who are like, "That guy's I never met anybody like him. I ain't never heard nothing like that. Where you be from?" Outraged. That was my outraged Irishman. Good evening, Castle. I hope you and the family are well. We're doing good, Uncle Scooby. I hope you and Mrs. Scooby are doing well. Aaron catches all the cool stuff. I said I got Taco Bell for dinner. Oh, I see. If it was between you and coffee, there'd be a moment of processing. Coffee and waffles, indeed, indeed. I love writing Brig because of the bro. Some of your Irish dialogue, Matty, gives me a good old gaff. My car should hopefully be fixed soon. That's good news, Erin. That's good news. Respectfully, you've also doctored your accent quite a bit. That's true. I came to the United States when I was very young, so I learned how to like modulate my voice depending on who I was talking to. So I'll be honest, I don't even know what my natural accent is anymore because when I'm around some people, I talk differently than when I'm around other people. The only time, like, I have a resting accent, which is how I talk, like, when I'm around the lady, and that's probably the closest thing to what my natural accent is now. But when I came to the US, my accent was very thick, very thick. A Canadian told me once I didn't sound Canadian and therefore wasn't Canadian. I didn't know how. I didn't know saying "eh" was part of the require. It is. It is actually, Matty. It's on your birth certificate. Has to say "eh" after every sentence is a part of being Canadian. And has to say, and if you go more than four sentences without saying sorry, you also can't be Canadian. They kick you out. They send you to Newfoundland, and you have to be with the rest of the Irish folk until you learn to apologise for everything, like a proper Irish folk would. We're doing very well. We spent the day at St. Augustine's in Florida. We are currently down from PA for Thanksgiving week, visiting family. Well, that's exciting. Hell yeah! I hope you have a good time, mate. I can't do Florida. Florida's too hot for me. I don't know how it is right now. I pick up accents everywhere I go. My husband laughs when I get back from the prairie. That's fine. I have family over the pond, so I understand it. And dated two cousins from Scotland and friends in Ireland. But A means sorry. It does, but you also have to say sorry on top of on saying A. My brain has no clue what gaff means, but is also like, sounds like he likes it at the very least. Yeah. Gaff is like, it makes me giggle. It makes me laugh. Kova, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Welcome in. Florida is insane all year round. Yeah, Florida is the theme park of the United States. If you ever want to be entertained, you just go to Florida. There are wonderful things in Florida, and there are terrifying things in Florida. Florida is one of the most beautiful states in America, though. I will say that. It's got like the beaches and the wetlands and the woods. Oh, Florida is gorgeous. Beware of the swamp puppies, to be sure. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Arthron over on TikTok is actually from Florida. Susan, I didn't see that heart becoming. Thank you, kind love. I appreciate you for that. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. As a child, I had a South African accent, which led to bullying. Yeah, well, and the thing was, I got bullied by teachers because I started university when I was 14. So I got teased by teachers about it. I heard there were waffles to be had. We're having them right now, Kova. Yeah, but I got bullied by professors at my university, so I very quickly learned how to cover up my accent. Because you have to understand, like, the places that I grew up in Ireland have some of the thickest accents in Ireland. So I grew up in the country outside of Belfast. In my last couple of years there were outside of Belfast. And then my primary years I spent in County Wicklow with one of my aunts and uncles. And then I spent a bunch more time out in Limerick. with another aunt and uncle, and then I spent a little bit of time in Down and a little bit of time out in Ossory. All of those places have different accents, and I grew up pretty much evenly split between these places growing up as a child. And then I spent 2 years in the country outside of Belfast before I left, and then I spent 1 year. Well, I spent 9 months in Oslo or north of Oslo with another one of my uncles out in Norway. So first of all of my family speak weird. We all talk strangely. We all have a strange accent. In regards to like we don't sound traditionally Irish. Like we don't have what most people would consider to be a traditional Irish brogue, southern or northern. Period. But then on top of that, we also have like that little bit of Scandinavian in there because a lot of our family are still from Scandinavia. And then I also spent time going around all of these different places. And then in my teens, I spent a lot of time in the US. So my accent is from nowhere basically. I'm a first generation Aussie. My family is Scottish, so I have certain words that I pronounce in a Glaswegian way. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it, it's called phonetic evolution or phonetic adaptation, and it's what happens when you are exposed to people who speak a certain way. You start speaking the way that other people speak around you because that's how human beings naturally communicate. The woods are spooky here in Florida too. I live in a town bordering a Collin National Forest, and there's definitely some strange. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Even if there's nothing supernatural, there's plenty of strange people down in Florida, Harry. My father, who was South African, retained a strong accent until he was 99 years old, despite living in Australia. And a lot of people are that way. I felt it was better for me to adapt my accent to sound more American when I was young because I didn't want to stand out. I wanted to fit in. I didn't want anybody pointing at me be like, "Hey, you're different," because I already was different. I was a 14-year-old in university, so I was like, I don't want to be any more different than I already am. uh, I want to live in Norway. Norway is very beautiful. I would not go to live there these days, but Norway is very beautiful. My mom wants to make hot dogs tonight. I went, meat sandwiches sound delicious. Precisely. Also, Mom heard your whole waffling about sandwiches last time. I'd argue that the changes you've experienced are a result of constant code switching. I'd say that's a fair assessment. That is a fair assessment. Um, I don't know too much about that from a standpoint, from a professional standpoint, but I'd say it's a fair notion. Just the taxes in Norway are very high. There's a lot of restrictions on starting businesses. A lot of the social laws are very restrictive. As somebody who is entrepreneurial, the only real place that you can run a business like we couldn't run the tavern anywhere else in the world right now. What we want to do with the tavern, we couldn't do it anywhere else in the world except for the US. And I've checked. The lady and I we had considered moving before, but there's nowhere that is friendly to businesses and to people who are trying to make money outside of like a 9 to 5 job. There's nowhere that is as friendly for it as the US is. Actually, there's supernatural stuff in the Everglades. I'd rather not go without singing a song. Precisely that. Val, thank you for the roses, love. I appreciate you for that. Tips to the tavern keeper always appreciated. And thank you for the bubble blows. Appreciate that as well. I can't wait to come and visit. Yeah, I cannot wait until we have the tavern up and running so that so many of you can come and meet the lady and I and we can make you all a meal and tell you all a story. I code switch constantly depending on whether or not I'm talking to another southerner or not, which is fair enough. And to be like, I worked for a long time. I worked in like customer service sort of things. I worked in sales and marketing and stuff like that. And I encountered so many people who couldn't understand. Even when my accent was light, I encountered so many people who couldn't understand. Just talking how I am now. I encountered so many people in America who couldn't understand me when I was doing marketing and sales, and it was just so much harder to do the job if I didn't sound American. So I, your assessment is probably accurate, Valkyrie. I would say that. Some of the people in Florida, a family from Florida to New York, have started in South Carolina and moved from there. That's quite a spread. I've worked hard to hide my southern accent. Now my children are picking it up and it's adorable. Well, I say like if you have a regional accent, you just own it. Just own it. Matthew had the same problem. Yeah, and we had talked about that actually. It's hard. It's hard to. It's a hard thing to come to realize if you've never had to do anything in that range. But like I was a child of many different worlds, so I already don't relate to a lot of people in the way that I grew up. Like I went from bouncing around from homes, living with my grandfather, living with my aunts and uncles, and then I came back to the United States to live with my parents, and then I was homeless for like 2 years while I was going to school. Lake Lady, good to see you. Hello, thank you for the sweaty teddy. That might be the new one, and the heart me. Danielle says, "Where are you originally from?" So I'm originally from Ireland. I was born in the U.S. At 6 months old. I went to live with my grandfather in Ireland. So I was a dual citizen. I gave up my citizenship to Ireland when I was 19, though. But yeah, I would say that just in general, like you should always try to make yourself as understandable as possible. But if you have a regional accent, don't worry about it. Ambrose, hello, hello, good to see you. Thank you for the look. I appreciate that. Thank you kindly. By the way, I've been playing my electric guitar. One of my foundation branches is getting more. Very good, very good. Your accent is totally fine. Thank you, Val. I appreciate you for that. And most people tell me that I sound Irish, but a lot of Irish people complain that my accent is odd, and it is odd. Like I'm not gonna poo-poo on them because my accent is odd. Pripyat Beauty, I think is what that says. Pripyat Beauty, hello, hello, welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. Grab a seat. We're about to start story time. We were waffling a bit, talking about the world and accents and so on. About to play some repo. Wanted to look to show some. I appreciate you for that. Good luck. Good luck. Excellent. Well, welcome in. I am Castle. I think we have quite a few new folks in here. I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. Every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. This is a tavern at the end of the world where all stories eventually come to rest, and you found your way here tonight because you were seeking a story. Uh, I was 19. I was pig-headed, and I was fighting a lot with my grandfather. So it was done out of an act of rebellion. My grandfather and I were not getting along. He was more or less insisting that I was going to need to move back after I finished university, and I was procrastinating on finishing university. So basically, I was fighting with my grandfather, and I renounced it out of spite. My stepdad came out here when he was 26 and turned 60 last year. He's from Ireland. Aussies say he's an Irish accent. His family says he sounds Aussie. Yeah, accents are very weird. I agree with you, Kova. I agree. Obviously, never knew your accent, but always found it interesting. I'm happy to have friends literally all over the planet, and love learning about cultures and customs. It's a spice of life. It really is. When my sister Teresa lived in Vegas, everyone wanted me to talk because I talk Southern. Yeah, and there's so even in the UK, like even in Europe, some Europeans and especially like Japanese folk love the American Southern accent, which is hilarious to me. I love accents. I think they're so cool. I do too. I do too. I think it's interesting because they are whistles for the linguistic foundation of the natural language of the people in the area. Like it's interesting because your accent is not. It's not a. It's if you wherever you're from. Like my accent is not an Irish accent. It's a Gaeilge accent used for speaking Gaeilge being heard in English. More specifically. Welcome in, glad to have you. Yes, absolutely. I am from Michigan, live in Florida, and I get told I sound like I'm from northern New Jersey. That's a hell of a spread, that one. I know it is. I was in high school and teachers had a hard time to understand me. Yeah, yeah. Adam, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. Actually, a little southern, but not much. Which is wild to me. I was told specifically to get rid of it so I wouldn't get picked on in basic. Yeah, yeah. My dad is from Dorset and Coventry. It's hard not talking like him during a family discussion. Yeah, and you should just own it. I love how they change depending on where you are too. Like the accent can be completely different from the same state. Yeah, like if you're talking about like northern and southern Alabama, right? Vastly different accent between northern and southern Alabama. Same thing with Kentucky, right? Like if you're in eastern and western, I think it's eastern and western Kentucky, completely different accents. It's insane. It's actually really crazy. When I was visiting Ireland, I had more often than not grab an American to translate for me because the Irish had trouble with my Aussie accent. Well, the Irish are just pretending like they can't understand anybody because they don't want to talk to anybody, unless you're asking them about themselves, and then the Irish will talk to you forever. I grew up not thinking I had one in Montana, and then I moved to WI is Wisconsin, right? Am I remembering that right? And everyone knew where I was from. That's really interesting. That is really interesting. Mega King 14, thank you for following, and Danielle, thank you for following. You've now marked this on your map. You should be able to find your way back again the next time you seek a story. Uh, my accent varies. It's wildly southern, but my mom's family, who is closest, is from Massachusetts, so there are some words I pronounced very Yankee. My brother, I'm going to hit the sheets, got to get up super early, have an amazing stream, talk to you again soon. Talk to you again soon, my friend. Rest well, and may you rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I hope you're successful with whatever you have to do in the morning. Okay, alright. Louisiana has like 5 different accents. Yeah, well, because Louisiana, you've got the Cajun and the Creole groups, and then you've got some of the like the some of the God, I can't remember the name, but yeah, there are a bunch of different accents in Louisiana. I love all your videos; they are very educational. My kids love learning the old law. Well, good. I'm glad, Adam. Thank you kindly. It baffles me. It actually baffles me how many um, families watch the tavern stories together. It's flattering. I love it. It's 1 p.m. in Australia. Is it indeed? We actually have quite a few Aussies who are regular patrons of the tavern, as a matter of fact. And we all speak one language, Bogan. How are you all doing tonight? We're doing spectacular, Mega King. We're just about to start a story time. We're reading a chapter from Raymond E. Feist at Darkness at Sethanon. This is the 4th book in the series. No, not much will be spoiled other than just a 12 p.m. here in Darwin. I would like to learn more about Cajun culture and language. My great grandmother on my dad's side was Cajun. I only just learned. Yeah, Cajun is beautiful. Cajun culture is spectacular. Not frozen on my side. Nilu. We're having a little bit of tumult, but nothing's frozen. Speaking of chapters, I finished writing the last chapter of my 2nd book today. This is good work, Matty. You're really putting it in. Kova didn't break it. Not Kova's fault. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess it is something that you're able to string enough words together to make a book.
Oh, so we got Aussies from 3 different time zones in Australia right now. Are there 3 different? Yeah, I suppose it would be. Australia's huge. What a wonder! What a wonder! All right, friends. Let's say we begin. Let's see, where were we? When we last left off. Oh, that's right. Okay. So I'll give everybody a quick. Anyone who's new, I'll give you a quick synopsis of where we're at. The main character of this book is called Arutha. There are essentially three main characters of the book. You have Arutha, Pug, and Tomas. Pug is the main character of the first book in the series. He is a magician who essentially became a magician of two worlds in the first book. You haven't, Esther. We were just now starting, and I'm giving everybody a synopsis so they know where we're at. Pug is essentially a very powerful magician in the series now. And he started out as a young boy and he learned how to do the magic of two worlds. The two worlds are called Calawan. They were the people who invaded Midkemia, which is the main world in the first book. And then Tomas is Pug's best friend from childhood. Tomas put on the armor of a dragon lord and became what is called a Valheru. And the Valheru were the dragon lords. They are sort of like the old gods of this world. So Tomas is a sort of hybrid human Valheru, and Pug is a magician. Arutha is the the youngest son of the Duke who was like a father to Pug in the first book. I hope I'm not losing anybody. Santana, hello! I hope you and the family are doing well, brother. Welcome in. Yeah, because of the way that the map is warped, it is amazing, because Australia is one of the biggest land masses in the world, so... But up your beauty, thank you for the follow. I hope you'll enjoy your stays with us here at the tavern. We do story time every Tuesday and Thursday, and then the lady does story time on Sunday. I'm actually Scottish, Irish, and French, learned that recently. Ooh, there's a whole lot of internal conflict in your blood there. Well, me and my oldest son are at the ER. Well, that's not good, Santana. What did you do? Did you crash? Did you blow something up? Did you put your hand in a fan belt? I'm teasing, but really what happened? Me talks to the grumpy dragon. How quaint. Still, I suppose it's commendable that you've managed to string enough words together to fill a book. Just make sure your protagonist doesn't get too distracted by her charms. I wouldn't want your tale to end with a rather anticlimactic dinner. He's sick, like he's got the flu, or you obviously you don't have to share too much. Obviously, it's your son, but I hope he feels better, mate. Here, I thought your son was accompanying you to the ER because you were not being careful. I'm from all over. I guess that's what I tell people. I'm from nowhere. I'm from all over. Yeah, Duke Boric adopted Pug to be his adoptive son. And in the previous book called Silverthorn, we learned that there was a powerful outer god who was essentially trying to come back into this world and take over, called Myrmandamus. And right now, we are in the process of Arutha and his party trying to find a way to defeat Myrmandamus, and no luck as of yet. You're from Ibiza, pizza here, pizza there. Oh. I know, I definitely did something today, but I'll be okay. And he has a bad cough that won't go away. Ugh. See, I'm prone to walking pneumonia, so I have to be very careful not to, I have to be very careful, when I drink and things, so that I don't accidentally, inhale water, because I'll get walking pneumonia very easily. And then I get a cough that just won't go away, and I cough so hard that sometimes I'll, dislocate ribs. It's dreadful. I hope he feels better, though, brother. I hope he does. So, when we last left off, Arutha, his elder brother Martin, elder half-brother Martin, and their party, who were headed to try and infiltrate Myrmandamus' military camp, had discovered Arutha's uncle, a guy named Guy Dubastira, who was more or less a traitor to Duke Boric and the crown of Rillanon being the primary kingdom of the West. basically found out that he's ruling over a bunch of Scotsmen. So the Haddati in this book are essentially a bunch of hill Scotsmen. And basically they found Guy de Bastira ruling over a bunch of Scotsmen, and they're also fighting Mermandamus. So that's where we are now. So that is where we begin. Everybody, fill your drinks, grab a seat. It is time for stories. Settle in. I slipped over the tool truck and landed on my foot that I had surgery. Santana, mate, you gotta take better care. I got Friday to pick up another truck. Good lord, this man. Every single time Santana comes in here, he's hurt himself in a different way. One of these days, you're actually going to fulfill the prophecy of. I've not heard Highlanders referred to as Hill Scotsmen. Well, the Haddati are Hill Scotsmen. I guess technically, the Lowlanders would be Hill Scotsmen. I guess, because I don't know. I guess. Yeah, who? Because to be perfectly honest, all of Scotland is hills. Like, it's just mostly hills. So pretty much all Scotsmen are hill Scotsmen. Now if you bust your foot up, you won't. One of these days, Matty shall fall silent, and on that day the apocalypse will happen. That very likely. That'll be the bell toll for the end of the world. Yeah, no more hurting your foot, Santana. No more hurting your foot. Alright, here we go. Scotland is very beautiful. Scotland is lovely. Well, most of Scotland, certain parts of Scotland are very pretty. A lot of Scotland is just very, very rocky, but Scotland has a lot of really pretty areas. Alright, Chapter 10 of A Darkness at Sethanon. Accommodation. Jimmy poked Locklear in the ribs. They were strolling through the market, attempting to see what little of Armengar was worth seeing. Boys their own age were rare, and those few who they did see were armed and armored. What interested Jimmy was the difference between this market and those in Crondor. We've been here for more than an hour, and I'll swear I've not seen a beggar or a thief in the lot, said Jimmy. Makes sense, said Locklear. From what Amos said, trust is essential in the city. No thieves, because they all have to hang together, and where would you hide anyways? I don't know much about cities and such, but it seems to me this place is more a garrison than a city, despite the size. You'd have that right enough. And there are no beggars because they probably take care of everyone, like an army. Mess and infirmaries? Yeah, agreed Locklear. They wandered past booths and Jimmy judged the worth of the items on display. Noticed any real luxuries? Locklear indicated that he had not. The booths were devoted to foodstuffs, simple cloth and leather goods, and weapons. All prices were low, and there seemed to be little of any haggling. After a short time of walking, Jimmy sat on a door stoop at the edge of the market. This is boring. I see something's not boring. Jimmy said, What? Girls, Locklear pointed, of course. What else would it be? My sister was recently in Scotland. Did she have a good time, Esther? It's going to be the Matty apocalypse. Besides, if I've learned anything, I'll respawn at camp at the end of creating the Valley of Dead Matties. I had a Scottish great uncle that was so cheap, he once dropped a shilling and it hit him on the back of the head when he went to pick it up. That is a solid one. Of course it's girls, of course. What else would young teenage boys be thinking of? Locklear pointed. Two girls had emerged from the press of shoppers. They were examining goods at the booth near the edge of the market. They appeared about the same age as the boys. Both were similarly attired, leather boots, trousers, tunics, leather overvests, belt knives, and swords. Each wore rolled scarves about her shoulder-length dark hair out of her eyes. The taller girl noticed Jimmy and Locklear watching them and said something to her companion. The girls regarded the boys while the two whispered, heads together. The first girl put back the items she had been holding, and she and her friend walked over to Jimmy and Locklear. "Well," said the taller, her blue eyes regarding him frankly. Jimmy got to his feet and was surprised to find that the girl was almost as tall as he was. "Well, what?" he responded in halting Armengarian. "You were staring at us." Jimmy glanced down at Locklear, who stood. "Is there something wrong with that?" "Oh. Is there something wrong with that?" asked the younger boy, who spoke the language better than Jimmy. The two girls exchanged glances and laughed, little more than giggles. "It's rude." "We're strangers," ventured Locklear. The two girls laughed openly at that. "That's clear. We've heard of you. Everyone in Armengar's heard of you." Locklear blushed. It only took a moment's thought to realize that he and Jimmy were markedly different in appearance than everyone in sight. The girl studied Locklear with dark eyes and said, "Do you stare at girls where you come from?" With a sudden grin, Locklear said, "Every chance I get, of course." Rescue 51, thank you for marking the tavern on your map, my friend. Thank you for the follow. You've now marked this and you should be able to find your way back the next time you seek a story. How did they invent copper wire? Two Scotsmen fighting over a penny. You got, never mind. I was going to say we need to be nice to the Scots, but we don't. And the Grand Canyon was formed when the Scotsman dropped a penny down a rabbit hole. Oh, good lord. Alright, where was I? All four laughed. The taller girl said, "I'm Krista, and this is Bronwyn. We serve the 10th Company. I have liberty until tomorrow night." Jimmy didn't know the significance of the reference to company, but he said, "I'm Squire James, Jimmy, and this is Squire Locklear." "Lockie," Bronwyn said. "You have the same name." Locklear said, "Squire is a title. We're in service to the prince." The girls exchanged questioning looks. Krista said, "You speak of outlandish things we do not understand." In a fluid motion, Jimmy slipped his arm inside of hers and said, "Well then, why don't you show us the city and we'll explain our outlandish ways?" Awkwardly, Locklear followed his friend's example, but it wasn't clear who grabbed whose arm first, he or Bronwyn. With girlish laughter, Bronwyn and Krista took the boys in tow and made their way through the streets of the city. Oh, you guys. Martin ate quietly, studying Brianna. While he listened to the dinner conversation, Ruther's company, except for Jimmy and Locklear, sat around the table with Guy, Amos, and Brianna. Another of Guy's commanders, Gareth, also dined with them. The boys' absence was no cause for alarm, Amos had assured them. But there was no trouble in the city that they could find without the Protector hearing about it at once. And there was no way that they could leave the city, even for one as gifted as Jimmy. Arutha was not as sure of that as Amos was, but forewent comment. Arutha knew he and Guy would quickly have to come to an understanding, and he had some sense of what it would be. But he deferred speculation until he heard what Guy had to say in private. Arutha studied the Protector. Guy had fallen into a black mood, which in a strange way reminded him of his father. When, in similar frame of mind, Guy had eaten little, he had been steadily drinking for an hour. Arutha turned his attention to his brother, who had been behaving in a most unusual fashion since morning. Martin could be quiet for long periods of time, a trait they both shared, but since meeting Brianna, he had become almost mute. She had arrived with Amos in Arutha's suite for the noon meal, and since then Martin hadn't uttered a dozen words to anyone. But over this meal, as over that earlier one, his eyes had spoken volumes. And if Arutha could judge such things, Brianna answered. At least, she seemed to spend more time observing Martin than anyone else at the table. Guy said little during the course of the evening. If Brianna's mother had been anything like her, Arutha understood Guy's loss. For in the short hours he had observed her, he had come to count her as a rare woman. He could also understand Martin's being attracted to her. There was nothing pretty about her, but as different as she was from his beloved Anita, there was a powerful appeal in her, a rough, determined quality of competence that was magnetic. She seemed without artifice, and in Arutha's judgment, there was something in her manner that suggested her nature was a match for his brother's. Arutha's attention had been focused for a very long time upon the grave considerations, but he still had a moment for amusement. He judged Martin was quickly sinking into deep waters. The meal was somewhat strange to Arutha and Martin, for there were no servants in Guy's hall or in any other part of Armangard. Soldiers brought the food to the Protector's quarters as a courtesy, but he served himself as did his guests. Amos had remarked that most nights he and Armand would lug the servingware back down to the scullery and give it a hand washing. Everyone in the city helped. When the meal was finished, Amos said, Gareth and Armand are due to make round to the wall. We're prepared the scullery this night, so we might act the proper hosts. Would you care to join us? It was a general invitation to all at the table. Rode, Lorry, and Baru asked to join them, the Haddati especially wishing to see more of his distant kin. Martin rose, and in what appeared to be a heroic effort for him, said to Brianna, "Perhaps the commander would show me the city." He seemed equally pleased and distressed when she agreed. Martin's in love, yes he is. Arutha motioned for him to go with the woman, indicating he would stay behind and speak with Guy. Martin hurried out of the hold as Brianna led the way. In the long hall that led to the lift, Martin paused to look at the city lights below. 1,000 glittering points shone in the sable darkness.
As often as I pass this way, said Brianna, I never tire of the sight.
Martin nodded in agreement.
Is your home, Armengar?
Martin didn't look at her.
Crikey, he thought aloud. Oh, is your home like Armengar?
Martin didn't look at her.
Crikey, he thought aloud. No, my castle is tiny compared to this citadel. And the town of Crikey is but a tenth the size of this city. We have no giant wall about it, nor are all its people constantly under arms. It is a peaceful place. Or so it seems now. Before, I used to shun it as much as I could, staying in the forest, to hunt and be alone with my thoughts. Or I would go to the tallest tower of my castle and watch the sun set over the ocean. This is the best time of day. In the summer, the breeze from off the waters cools the heat of the day, while the sun plays colours across the water. In the winter, the towers are draped in white, and it seems a storied place. You can see mighty clouds rolling in from the ocean, and even more magnificent are the lightning storms, with flashes and boom and thunder, as if the sky were alive. He looked down and saw her studying him. Suddenly he felt foolish and smiled slightly, his only sign of embarrassment. I ramble. Amos has told me of the oceans. She tilted her head a little, as if considering. It seems a strange thing, all that water. Martin laughed a little, feeling his nervousness diminish. It is a strange thing, strange and powerful. I've never liked ships, but I've had to sail them, and after a while you appreciate how beautiful the sea can be. It's like... He halted, words not coming. Laurie should tell you, or Amos. Both have a flair for words that I lack. She placed a hand upon his arm. I'd rather hear them from you. She turned toward the window, her face sculpted by orange torchlight, her hair a black crown in the half-light. She was silent for a long moment and then looked at Martin. Are you a good hunter? Suddenly Martin was grinning, feeling like a fool. Yes, very good. Both knew there was no false boasting, just as there would be no false modesty. I'm elven taught. I know only one man who may be a fairer archer than I. I enjoy the hunt, but rarely have time. Now that I command, perhaps we may steal away some time and look for game. It's more dangerous here than in your kingdom, perhaps. For a while we hunt, others may be hunting us. Coolly, Martin said. I have dealt with the Moradale before. She regarded him frankly. You're a strong man, Martin. She placed a hand upon his arm and said, And I think you a good man as well. And Brianna, daughter of Gwyneth and Gertman, of the line of Elwyn. These were formal words, yet there was something else in them, as if somehow she was revealing herself to him, reaching out to him. I am Martin, son of Margaret. For the first time in years he thought of his mother, a pretty serving girl in Duke Brukel's court, and Boric, of the line of Danis, first of the Condoids. I'm called Martin Longbow. She looked at his face, as if studying each feature. Her expression changed as she smiled. Martin felt heat burst in his chest at the sight of it. Then she laughed. That name suits you, Martin Longbow. You're as tall and powerful as your weapon. Have you a wife? Martin spoke softly. No, I've never met anyone. I never had a way with words or women. I've not known many. She placed her fingertips on his lips. I understand. Suddenly Martin found her in his arms, her head on his chest. How, he didn't know. Gently he held her as if the slightest motion would cause her to flee. I don't know how things are done in your kingdom, Martin. But Amos says you avoid speaking openly of things we take for granted in Ermengarde. I do not know if this is such a thing, but I do not wish to be alone this night. She looked again at his face, and he saw both desire and fear there and understood her needs. Softly, almost inaudibly, she said, Are you as gentle as you are strong, Martin Longbow? Martin studied her face and knew no words were needed. He held her for a long time in silence until she slowly moved away, took his hand and led him off towards her quarters. Scandal! Scandalous! Martin has been seduced by a Scottish woman. The scandals!
Talk, hello, good to see you. Fade to black, fade. Yeah, it does fade to black. It does. We cut back to Arutha at the conference table. Let me check to see how long we have until ads are gonna play on Twitch again. Oh, we got 12 minutes. We got 12 minutes. We can make it through a little bit more before we have to run. That's okay. Let's see. This is a very long chapter. We've got 20 more pages. Pastor Jake, thank you, Sortalk. I appreciate you for the stretch, my friend. Oh, I was crackly on that one. Oh, getting to be old, friends. Oh. All right, where were we? Hydrate. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate you, love. In order to be old and wise, you have to be young and foolish. You have to survive being young and foolish to become old and wise. That is true, Cobra. I am proof that wisdom does not come with age. Ah, you're a wise old bastard, Bear. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Not all wisdom is profound. Some wisdom is just practical. And while some parts of Bear are profane, he's also incredibly practical. Hex, hello, my friend. I'm wonderful. How are you this evening? Hope you're enjoying yourself. Esther said, I may be older, I'm wiser. Alright, let's continue. I want to see where this conversation between Guy Dubastira and Arutha goes. I'm going to be here, but I'm also going to say goodnight and stop chatting. I'm able to take another pain med, I need it. Alright, that's fine, Milu. Make sure you go and rest. And if you do pop back in, well, we'll be happy to have you. But if you're off to bed and off to sleep, I hope that you rest well. See, but Bear, you've just contradicted yourself. You're old and foolish, but no fool truly knows that he is foolish. Only a wise man would ever call himself foolish. Have you never heard the story of Socrates? I'm sure you have, because you're not a fool. I would say that wisdom is almost equivalent to common sense, which is in such short supply. That's fair enough, Ross. That's fair enough. Already been younger and foolish for a time to be older and wiser. That's awesome. I'm glad you're doing so well. I hope the lady, I forgot if that was one of her nicknames. We do call her the Lady Una. Yes. We called her, please correct me if I'm wrong, we do call her the lady. That's correct. Are doing well. I'm doing pretty good. I recently got the opportunity to pick back up playing the spoons. Hell yeah. That is an uncommon instrumentation that definitely needs more attention. I love Feist's. Feist is spectacular. He is a slow burn writer, which I don't normally read, but the payoffs are good enough that it's worth going through the slow burn. Most slow burns are not worthwhile. Fino, thank you for the subscription over on YouTube. If you're in with us, thank you kindly. So very glad you could join us. See, Bear, there was a point in Socrates' life where one of his students went to the Oracle at Delphi and asked who the wisest person in all of Athens was, in all of Greece was. And the Oracle said that it was Socrates. And when his student came back to him and said, the Oracle says that you're the wisest in all of Greece, Socrates was like, no, that's not possible. I said, it's impossible. So Socrates went and he's talked to all of the craftsmen and scholars and philosophers and all of the people. And what he found is that most of them were very well spoken about the things that they knew. But when asked about anything else in general, they gave sort of cookie-cutter answers that were not very well thought out and probably not even their own opinions, just something that they had been told, and so therefore they reduce it. I'm not going to fight with you, Bear, but I will fight you.
Okay, thank goodness it's been a hot minute since I tuned in, and yeah, I discovered that the spoons can be an instrument to do a video on YouTube. And spoons can be one of my favorite instruments because you can literally go either around your house or any store and buy spoons like under $5 depending on where you go. I get my spoons from there. Yeah, absolutely. And spoons are a major staple instrumentation in Scottish, Cornish, and Irish music, traditional folk music, as well as in a lot of American Southern music. So it's like the mouth harp or the harmonica. They're staples in folk music. Nan played the spoons. Well, there you go. See, look at that. Kitchen party time. Mila, you just can't go to sleep. You're too much in the conversation. And she was from Glasgow. Yeah, you'll find different styles of spoons playing all across Ireland and Scotland. All across. For a time, Ruther sat watching Guy, the protector of Armengar, was lost in his own thoughts, drinking absently from his ale cup. The fires crackled, the only sound in the room. Then at last, Guy said, "The thing I miss most is the wine, I think. There are times when I sit, and it suits a mood. Don't you agree?" Ruther nodded, sampling his own ale. "Amos told us of your loss." Guy waved absently, and Ruther could see he was a little drunk. His movements not as sure, not quite as controlled, but his voice betrayed no slurring of speech. He sighed deeply. "More your loss than mine, Ruther. You never met her." Ruther didn't know what to say. He suddenly felt irritated by this, as if he was being forced to watch something private. Somehow being forced to share a bond of grief with a man he should hate. "You said we needed to speak, Guy." Guy nodded, pushing aside his cup. He still stared off into the distance. "I have need of you." He turned to face Ruther. "I have need of the kingdom, at least. And that means Liam." Ruther motioned for Guy to continue. "It makes little difference to me personally if I possess your good opinion or not. But it is clear I need your acceptance as the leader of these people." He lapsed into thoughtfulness. Then he said, "I thought your brother would marry Anita. It was the logical thing to do, to bolster his claim. But then, he was king before he knew it. Roderick did us all a favour by having a lucid moment before he died." He looked hard at Ruther. "Anita's a fine young woman. I had no desire to wed her, only a need at the time. I would have let her find her own satisfactions. It is better this way." He sat back. "I'm drunk. My mind wanders." He closed his eyes, and for a moment Ruther thought he might be drifting off to sleep. Then Guy said, "Amos told you how we came to Armengar, so I'll not repeat that tale. But there are other matters I think he'd not touch upon." Again he was silent. Another long period without words was followed by, "Did your father ever tell you how there came to be so much bitterness between us?" Ruther kept his voice calm. "He said you were at the heart of every conspiracy in the court against the Western realm, and you used your position with both Roderick and his father to undermine my father's position." To Ruther's astonishment, Gar said, "That's mostly true. A different interpretation of my actions might give a softer label to what I did. But my actions under the reigns of Roderick and his father, before him, were never in the interest of Boric or the West." "No, I speak of other things." No, I speak of other things. He never spoke of you except to brand you an enemy. Arutha considered and then went on. Delonic said you and father were once friends. Hang on a second. We're gonna change the music real quick because it's getting to be a bit weird. We'll do you. Yeah, we'll do you. Sorry about that. Sorry, I'm back. What did I miss? I don't know when you left. It's a conversation between Arutha and Guy at the moment. Guy again looked at the fire. His manner was distant, as if remembering. Softly he said, "Yes, good friends." Again he fell into silence. Then, just as Arutha was about to speak, he said, "It started when we were both young men at court, during the reign of Roderick III. We were among the very first squires sent to the royal court. Goldrick's invitation to produce rulers who would know more than their fathers." Guy considered. "Let me tell you how it was. And when I'm done, maybe you'll understand why you and your brother were never sent to court. I was 3 years younger than your father, who was barely 18. We were of a size and temper. At first we were thrown together, for he was a distant cousin and I was expected to teach manners to this son of a rustic duke. In time we became friends, and over the years we gambled, wenched, and fought together. Oh, we had differences. Even then, Boric was a frontier noble's son, more concerned with old concepts of honor and duty than in understanding the true causes of events around him. Well, he threw back his hands, down over his face, as if stirring himself awake. His tones became more brisk. I was raised in the Eastern Court, and I was marked to command from an early age. My family is old, and honored as any in the kingdom, even yours. Had DeLong and his brothers been slightly less gifted, generals and my forebears slightly better ones, the Bastirers would have been kings instead of the Condoins. So I had been taught from boyhood how the game of politics is played in the realms. And even we were very different in some ways, your father and I. But in my life, there has never been a man I love more than Boric." He looked hard at Arutha. He was the brother I never had. Arutha was intrigued. He had no doubt the guy was colouring things to suit his purpose, suspecting even the drunkenness was a pose. But he was curious to hear of his father's youth. "What then caused the estrangement between the two of you?" "We competed, as young men do, in the hunt, gambling, and for the affection of the ladies. Our political differences led to hot words from time to time. But we found ways to gloss over our arguments and reconcile ourselves. Once we even came to blows over some thoughtless remarks I made. I said your great-grandfather had been nothing more than a disgruntled third son of a king, seeking to gain strength of arms, that which could not be found within the existing kingdom. Boric saw him as a great man who planted the banner of the kingdom in Bassania. I held that West was a sap upon the sources of the kingdom. The distances are too great for proper administration. You rule in Krondor. You know your governor, an independent realm, with only the broad policy coming from Rilinon. The Western realm is almost a separate nation. Anyway, we argued about that, then fought. Afterwards, we relented in our anger. But that was the first sign of how deep were the differences we felt over the policies of the realm. Still, even those differences did not lessen the bond between us.
You make it sound like a reasonable disagreement between honorable men over politics. But I knew father. He hated you, and his hate ran deep. There must be something more.
Guy again studied the firelight for a time. Softly, he said, "Your father and I were rivals in many things, but most bitterly for your mother." Arutha sat forward.
What?
When your Uncle Malcolm died of the fever, your father was called home, as older brother Boric would inherit, which is why he'd been sent to court for an education. But with Malcolm dead, your grandfather was alone. So your grandfather had the king name your father Warden of the West and send him back to Crowdy. Your grandfather was aging, your grandmother had already died, and Malcolm's death, he seemed to fade quickly. It was less than 2 years later that he died, and Boric became Duke of Crowdy. But when Brukel had returned to Yabon, and I was senior squire of the King's Court, I looked forward to Boric's return, for he was a present himself to the King to swear fealty as all new dukes are required to do during the first year of their office. Arutha calculated and realized that had been the time when his father had visited Brukel at Yabon. On his way to the capital, it was during the first visit that Boric's fancy was caught upon a pretty serving maid, and from that union came Martin, a fact not known to Boric until 5 years later. The guy continued speaking. The year before Boric's return to Rilinon, your mother came to court, to be a lady-in-waiting to Queen Yannicka, the king's second wife, Prince Roderick's mother. That's when Catherine and I met. And Twel Gwynath, she was the only woman I ever loved. Guy lapsed into silence, and suddenly Arutha felt an odd sense of shame, as if he'd somehow forced Guy to re-examine 2 painful losses. Catherine was rare, Arutha. I know you understand that. She was your mother. But when I first saw her, she was as fresh as a spring morning, with a blush in her cheeks and a hint of playfulness in her shy smile. Her hair was golden, with a shine to it. I fell in love with her in that first moment I saw her. Hello, nice to meet you. Thank you for the stories from Mexico. Hello, Claude. Thank you very much. So very glad that you enjoy. I'm glad you joined us for story time. Oh, good thing I looked up, because the ads are starting. Alright, we're going to take a quick 3-minute break while the ads run over on Twitch, and we'll continue after they are done. Ugh. How are we holding up, friends? Oh, well enough. How are you holding up, my darling? Well, I know that, but how are you doing? Which one? Is it the old man? No, he's gone. This is the perfect time for me to dip out. I've got an early morning tomorrow. Rest well, Destiny. Our head barmaid is heading out for bed. Rest well. Someone subscribed for me here, not sure who. I'm not sure either, so I didn't get a notification for anything. I will be very honest, I am glad that we are finally getting cold weather. Now, it was up in the 70s today, so that's not exactly cold. The horrors persist, but so do I. The night is dark and full of horrors, but I am one of them, so it's okay. Yeah, how are you feeling, Bear? I've been meaning to message you, but the lady and I have been so busy with work, I just haven't been able to do much of anything. Dragon of the West, I don't know if you went off to bed, but if you did, good night, my friend. Well, it's in the summertime for you, Esther, so I would presume it would be quite a bit hotter there. And Australia is already one of the hottest places in the world as it is. We were in the 50s and 60s earlier this week, and that was heaven for the lady and I. We were sleeping with the window open, it was raining, it was wonderful. It's 37 and dropping here. Again, the number of virgins that I would toss into a volcano for 37 degrees is innumerable. There's not a number that could calculate it. Yeah, Fahrenheit. Yeah, if you want a calculation for the conversion between Celsius and Fahrenheit, take whatever the Celsius is and multiply it by like 2.7. And it's not exactly, but it'll put you in like the general area of I don't actually know what the conversion formula is. There's a conversion formula. But if you multiply it by like 2.7, it's generally like right in the same area. So like Kova said, 33 degrees Celsius is 92 degrees Fahrenheit. So gives you an idea of what the difference is. I do try to remember where people are from to convert. Ashley says it's snowing where they are. Again, I would do great and terrible things to get some snow. The interior is cool despite the warm weather outside, creating a Tasmanian-like atmosphere. Soaring here feels like stinky summer, air conditioning on, so winter now. I had a good last couple of days, didn't overdo anything spectacular, and I am paying for it today. The conversion formula is Google. I guess that's fair. Everybody's got a cell phone. Most everybody has a cell phone in their pocket. Mate of mine just posted to Hobart, actually, an excuse to visit Cassie. Ads are finished. Thank you for us. I appreciate you. We'll have snow again this week. I shared pics of the first snow here. Yeah, the last time that it actually snowed out here where the lady and I are was... Let's see.
I don't think I've ever seen snow down here.
Well, last time it did snow here like 3 years ago, but not very much.
Really?
No, it snowed. There was like snow that was sticking to the street, but it was not even an inch.
It must have been like super hard.
You also have to keep in mind that up until like 2 years ago, you never even wanted to be outside. It's wet. It's wet and damp and gets everywhere. Is that a Star Wars reference, Cova, but in the opposite direction? It's snowing at my dad's 2 hours away. Yeah, gosh, I love the snow. I know a lot of people don't like the snow because it's inconvenient, but I love the snow. Mega King, you said, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Well, we're going to go visit some family on the day. And then the lady and I, if we get back early enough, we might either do a movie day over in the guild, or I might hop on for a little bit and just spend a little bit of time waffling for Thanksgiving with everybody who doesn't have anybody to spend Thanksgiving with. Because I know there are a lot of tavern folk who are either away from family or who don't have loved ones who they can spend time with. So, and of course, some of the tavern patrons aren't from the US, so they don't celebrate American Thanksgiving. But we'll be going to visit family, and then after that point, we'll, depending on how early we get back. And this is actually the first year in a while that I'm not making anything for Thanksgiving. Normally, I at least make something when we go somewhere. But we're going to visit some of Una's family, and they told us not to bring anything. So it's the first time in forever that I'm not making something for a family dinner. Though we are going to go, not spend Christmas, but for Christmas we're going to go visit Una's grandparents, and we'll be making food for them. No, not we're going to Grandma's house for just before Christmas, because Everett is going to visit his father out in Ohio over Christmas. So before Christmas, we're going to go visit Una's grandparents. She actually has an aunt and uncle who live about half an hour north of us, who we haven't seen in a while. So we're going to go do Thanksgiving dinner with them, because my brother is going out of town as well. So everybody's all spread out. And then for December 1st, as like a holiday thing, as well as like a birthday celebration for my brother, because my brother's birthday just recently passed, we're going to SeaWorld on December 1st to see all of the Christmas decorations and whatnot. We have a very busy holiday season. a lot of busyness going on. Oh, I've been seeing online that other countries cannot understand that our lakes, the Great Lakes, have their own weather patterns because of their size. Is that true? Like North Americans, I think we all get it, but people outside of North America, is it true that you don't really... I've had this conversation with other folks before, and it is quite a concept, because the Great Lakes in America, there's nothing really like that anywhere in Europe. Yeah, SeaWorld in San Diego, Matty, as Frost said. Thanksgiving is on the 26th, so yes, it's on Thursday. I think it's supposed to be the 4th Thursday of November, I believe is the timing of it. Rabbits and I used to do Orphans Christmas, so if anyone had nowhere else to be, they could come and spend the day with us and be overfed. Yeah, that's how my mom was growing up. Like, my mom would just make a whole bunch of food for Christmas and everybody was allowed to come. So there was a point where my mom would have like a dozen or more kids who just would come over and eat. And my parents were very poor, so the fact that my mom did that was probably not super smart, but she just loved to cook for people, so she did it anyways. Do you know the Great Lakes are so young that there are signs of civilization on the lake beds? I don't know if that was supposed to be funny, but that made me giggle, Bears. I was going to say, so most of the theme parks in America are either in California or in Florida. There are others throughout the country, but the big ones are all in California. Jonesy, you caught me just before I started reading again, brother. Good to see you. Welcome in. Something like 10 to 15,000 years old. Occasionally my comments are overlooked. This is a common occurrence for the ghosts. I answered your Thanksgiving question. Esther, did I miss another one? I apologize if I did. America itself is a wonderful place. I know a lot of people like to dog on America. I personally, I'm more or less an immigrant. I've lived in 13 different countries, and I love America. And no one will change my mind except for America itself. I love the U.S. and I always have. And even though its people don't always get along, there are some of the best people I've ever known. My mom was a tyrant, but she did have a good heart. Occasionally. Occasionally a good heart broke through. I figured I'd make it tonight because Thursday night I might not be able to make it. Fair enough, fair enough. We might not be on Thursday. If we get back early enough from visiting family, we'll hop on for a little bit with everybody. But tentatively, we're probably not going to be on. But we may still do a movie night if we get back very late. Absolutely, Johnny. That's my feeling about it as well. It's okay, Castle. Yeah, again, if I miss a comment, just repost it, because I miss a bunch of comments, Esther. There's so many people talking when we're doing these things that I'm bound to miss a few things. Sounds like my mom. She was a tyrant, but she was our tyrant. Yeah, more or less. I love America. Can't say I'm fond of the man. Like the boss? I'm confused. Have you ever been to Lagoon in Utah? It's really fun, and I've heard the Carnival is a good roller coaster. I know what it is, and I've been around that area, but I've never actually been to the theme park. I don't like theme parks. I don't like roller coasters. I am a large man, and I do not fit in most roller coasters, so I do not like roller coasters at all. Anvari, hello, my friend. I'm doing quite well. Which day are you planning to have a movie night? I have to take my cat for a checkup next week. On this Thursday, so not tomorrow, but the next day. This Thursday in America's, where I am time. If the lady and I get back early enough, I'll hop on and waffle with everybody for a little bit on Thursday. If I'm not back early enough, but we're back early enough that it's not like super duper late, like midnight, we'll do a movie for everybody on Thanksgiving. But if we get back very, very late, there just won't be anything on Thursday. Friday for our Aussie friends, yes. Castle, well, then that's what I answered. I've got no new updates, but I am glad to be here and just getting to chill. It's grand to have you, Jonesy. It's grand to have you. I'm glad that you're popping in more regularly now. It's good to see you again. I just don't like roller coasters. I'm a big man, and I've almost fallen out of roller coasters twice. Roller coasters I didn't want to be on in the first place. And I know a man who worked on roller coasters for a living, and he hated his job. So, he would tell me stories about how much he hated his job. So I'm just yeah, I'm good. I don't need to go on roller coasters. I don't need to tempt fate in another way. Hopefully I won't fall asleep. Well, I'll be sure to let everybody know a little bit ahead of time what goes on. I've seen the whales on roller coasters and I don't like them anymore. Well, fair enough. See, Jonesy is a professional welder, and he's told me this. He's just said this now, so it's another reason why I don't like roller coasters. I don't like roller coasters. I get terrible motion sickness. Yeah, see, and the thing is like I like fast things. Like I did professional driving for a while when I was working. Like I did track training and things like that when I was working for FCA. And I love to drive. I love cars. I love going fast. My brother and I used to do free running parkour when we were younger. I love a thrill, but I don't want the thrill to be like 4,000 pounds of steel that I have no control over. That was built by somebody who didn't like their job. Yeah, it's just too much tempting of fate for me. Same reason why I won't skydive. One, because I'm too heavy. I'm too heavy to skydive. There's no way that I could. But there's just too many things that I have to rely on that are out of my control to tempt fate in that way. Drives my wife nuts because everywhere I go, well, you intentionally judge the wells. You're intentionally doing it. You don't need to pass muster with us, Jonesy. We're all judgmental. It's fine. You're allowed to judge things if they need to be judged. Same, I absolutely hate roller coasters. The drop-offs are horrid for my... Yeah, I can't do it. I love rides, and the only one I can't do is a dead drop. The dead drops I absolutely despise. I despise dead drops. I love free running back in the day. Yeah, my brother and I used to do a lot of like building climbing and drops and whatnot. But that's something that if I fall, that's my fault. Right? I'm not relying on a roller coaster to keep from throwing me out somewhere. It's like bungee jumping. I won't bungee jump. There's too much equipment that needs to be relied on for that. It's like it's a lot of people think that it's contradictory. Like, oh, I won't jump out of an airplane. I won't bungee jump, but I'll climb up the side of a building. Yeah, because the only thing that's going to decide whether or not I fall off of that building is me. If I fall, it's my fault. If a bungee cord snaps while I'm jumping, I do love a Ferris wheel. I'll say that. I love Ferris wheels. Ferris wheels are amazing. Just getting to be up high on something and just look out over the world, I love that. I love fast-moving rides, just not roller coasters. Yeah, like I guess I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I do like racing cars. But I guess I have a better understanding of a car and like I can work on a car to make it more reliable. We were on a ride in the Everglades and we were looking for crocodiles, and my brother-in-law says, "Hey Garrett, did you see these wells?" And the whole time I didn't see any wildlife. I was too busy wondering how the boat was staying together. I love rides. The only ones I can't do is that I read that. I nearly fell out of a roller coaster when I got chorused by my bestie. He worked at Vancouver's theme park. Yeah, and that was the thing, like, I almost fell out of a roller coaster years ago at Six Flags Magic Mountain because the harness didn't close all the way on me, and I had to like bear hug it for the whole of the ride so I wouldn't fall out. Like I had my legs wrapped around the seat, and I was bear hugging the harness so I wouldn't fall out. And it's one that looped. I was pissing myself. But yeah, I don't like roller coasters. I don't like theme parks in general. But yeah, see, for us, and it's when you're a bigger guy, these things are just not made for you. It was Batman. It was Batman, Frost. And then I had the same thing happen on the Harry Potter ride at which is not quite as scary because it doesn't flip upside down. But I had the same thing happen on the Harry Potter ride at Universal Studios. The chest harness and the one between my legs just broke. Wouldn't stay down. And it was like full on flapping out to like 90 degrees. I almost fell out of one, but it was the operator's fault. The poor guy beside me saw it and grabbed my flying legs. I wrapped around him. It was a stand-up. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's rough. There's a fast-paced ride that I love called the Tilt-A-Whirl. Tilt-A-Whirls are okay. I don't mind Tilt-A-Whirls. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're just spinning really fast in a circle, but a Tilt-A-Whirl's alright. A friend of mine and I have a drag car and would make a 1/4 mile pass in a high 7 seconds in the 160 mile per hour range. That's a hell of a thing, Tyson. That's a hell of a ride. Mary Beth, hello. Good to see you. Welcome in. Grab your seat. Okay, alright, I'm gonna get back to reading, friends. I've waffled for well over an hour of this story. Well, no, it's probably about 45 minutes. We're not too bad. We've done worse. Alright. Back to this conversation between Guy and Arutha. Alright. Catherine was rare, Ruther. I know you understand that. She was your mother. And when I first saw her, as fresh as a spring morning, with a blush upon her cheeks, and a hint of playfulness in her shy smile, her hair was golden with a shine to it. I fell in love with her the first moment I saw her, and so did your father. From that moment on, our competition for her attention became fierce. For 2 months we both courted her, and by the end of the second, your father and I were not speaking. So bitter was our rivalry for Catherine. Your father kept putting off his return to Crichton, choosing to stay and woo Catherine. We fought desperately for her favour. I was to have gone riding with Catherine one morning, and when I reached her quarters, she was ready to travel. She was the first cousin of Queen Yannicka, and, as such, a prize in the game of the court intrigue. The lessons I had taught your father in the years before paid handsomely. For while I had been riding and walking in the garden with Catherine, he'd been speaking to the king, Roderick. Directed your mother to wed your father, as was his right as her guardian. It was a politically expedient marriage, for even then the king had his doubts to his son's ability and his brother's health. Damn it. But Roderick was an unhappy man. His 3 sons from his first marriage had died before reaching manhood, and he never got over their deaths or the death of his beloved Queen Beatrice. And his younger brother Erlon was a late child and sickly with a lung flux. He was but 10 years old then, Prince Roderick. The court knew that the king wished to name your father heir, but Yannicka had given him a son, a shy boy whom Roderick despised. I think he forced your mother to marry your father to strengthen his tie to the throne. But he might name him heir. And heaven knows he spent a whole 12 years trying to make the prince a better man or break him in the trying. But the king never did name an heir before he died, and we were left with Roderick IV, a sadder, more broken man than his father. Arutha looked on, his cheeks flushed.
What did you mean? The king forced my mother to marry my father?
Guy's one good eye blazed. It was a political marriage, Arutha. Arutha's anger rose up.
But my mother loved my father.
By the time you were born, I'm sure she had learned to love him. Your father was a good enough man, and she was a loving woman. But in those days, she loved me. His voice became thick with old emotion. She loved me, and I had known her a year before Boric's return. We'd already vowed to wed when my tenure as squire was through, and it was a secret thing, a pledge between children made in a garden one night. I'd written to my father, asking him to intercede with the Queen, to gain me Catherine's hand. I never thought to speak to the king. I, the clever son of an Eastern lord, had been bested by the country noble's boy of court intrigue. Damn! I had thought I was so wily. But I was then only 19, so long ago. I flew into a rage. In those days my temper was a match for your father's. I dashed from your mother's room and saw Boric out. We fought in the king's palace. We duelled and almost killed each other. You must have seen the long wound upon your father's side. From the under of his left arm across his ribs, I gave him that scar. I bear a similar wound from him. I almost died. When I recovered, your father was a week gone to Crichton, taking Catherine with him. I would have followed, but the king forbade it on pain of death. He was correct, for they were married. I took to wearing black in public, a mark of my shame. Then I was sent to fight Kesh. At the deep taunting, he laughed a bitter laugh. Much like my reputation as a general came from that encounter, I owe my success in part to your father. I punished the Keshians for his having robbed me of Catherine. I did things no general in his right mind would do, leading attack after attack. I think now I hope to die with him. His voice softened, and he chuckled. I was almost disappointed when they asked for quarter in terms of surrender. Guy then sighed. So much of what happened in my life stems from that. I ceased holding ill will toward Boric, eventually, but he turned a bitter side up when she died. He rejected the idea of sending his sons to the king's court. I think he worried I might take revenge on you and Liam. He loved Mother, and he was never a happy man after her death, Arutha said, feeling somehow both uncomfortable and angry. He did not need to justify his father's behavior to his most bitter enemy. Guy nodded. I know. When we were young, we cannot entertain the idea of another's feelings can be as deep as our own. Our love is so much loftier, our pain is so much more intense. But as I grew older, I realized Boric loved Catherine as much as I did. And I think she did love him. Guy's good eye fixed on a point in space. His tone became softer and reflective. She was a wonderful, generous woman, with room in her life for many loves. Yet I think, deep in her heart, in his heart, your father harbored doubts. Guy regarded Arutha with an expression of mixed wonder and pity. Can you imagine that? How sad it must have been. Perhaps in a strange way I was luckier, for I knew she loved me. I had no doubt. Arutha noticed a faint sheen of moisture in Guy's good eye. The protector brushed away the gathering tear in an unself-conscious gesture. He settled back, closing his eye, his hand to his forehead, and quietly added, "There seems little justice in life at times." Arutha pondered. "Why are you telling me this?" Guy set on, shedding his mood. "Because I need you, and there can be no doubt on your part. To you, I am a traitor who sought to take control of the kingdom for his own aggrandizement. That's a hell of a word. I don't think I've ever seen that word before. Aggrandizement. There's two words that Vice has put in front of me that I have never seen before. Olga, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. I'm so very glad that you have joined us. Nathan, hello, man. I got to check these on my nights off. Well, have fun. Neck to work for me. All right, Nathan. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time. Milo, good night. Rest well. I'd still love to hear the waffles on the Honor trilogy. It was one of my earlier fantasy trilogies that stuck with me. I'll have to give it a go. Magic words were spoken, the waffles have appeared. I read these books 20 years ago. Are these books really that old? I suppose they could be. That is a crazy thing, to be sure. Yeah, when you think about it. Good evening, I wish I'd caught the beginning. That's all right, Mel. It's good to see you. Welcome in. I'm glad that you made it back. Welcome back, Mega King. Welcome back. I'm having a little bit of an issue here because my UI keeps disappearing. A Darkness of Sethanon was published in 1986. Good lord. That is wild to think. Oh, good lord, there are so many books. So many books. Let's see. Yeah, originally published, double hardcover edition published March 1986. And then 3 other versions published, one in 1987, one in 1994, and one in 2004. God, it's as old as me. It's crazy how fast time goes, isn't it? Feels so bittersweet switching to writing, stream to book 3 now. Might be because it's Berry's last outing. It's one of those things about killing your darlings, right? I've dropped out after 12, 15 books. Yeah, just here in the front it's got, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, 17, 20, 23, 26, 28, 31 books in the series, which is crazy. Yeah, I don't, Kova, I don't know, I don't think you were here for it. We did actually read, we started with Magician Apprentice, and then we went to Magician Master, and then we read Silverthorn, and now we're here. Alright, let's continue. To you, I am a traitor of the kingdom who sought to take control of the... for his own aggrandizement. In part, you are correct. Arutho was again surprised by Guy's candor. But how can you justify what you did to Erlond? I am responsible for his death. I cannot disavow that. It was my captain who ordered his continued confinement after I ordered his release. Radburn had his uses, but tended to be overzealous. I can understand his panic, for I would have punished him for letting Anita and you escape. I needed her to gain foothold in the succession, and you would have been useful bargaining piece against your father. Seeing surprise on Arutha's face, he said, "Oh yes, my agents knew you were in Krondor. Or so they reported to me when I returned from that little raid on Kesh at Shamata. Well, Radburn made an error of thinking that you'd lead him to Anita. It never occurred to him that you might have nothing to do with her escape. The fool should have clapped you in jail and kept searching on for her." Arutha felt the return of his distrust and a lessening of sympathy. Despite Guy's forthright speech, his callous references to using people rankled. Guy continued, "But I never wished her long dead. I already had the viceroyalty from Roderick, giving me full command over the West. I didn't need her land. Only a link to the throne, Anita. Roderick IV was mad. I was one of the first to know, as was Coldrick. For in kings people overlook and forgive behaviour that would not be tolerated in others. Roderick could not be allowed to rule much longer. The first 8 years of the war were difficult enough in the court, but in the last year of his reign, Roderick was almost totally without reason. Kesh always had an eye turned northward, seeking signs of weakness. I did not wish the burdens of the kingship, but even with your father as heir to Erland, I simply felt better. I was better able to rule than anyone in the position to inherit. But why all this intrigue? You had the backing of the Congress, Coldrick, father, and Erland barely overruled your attempt to become Roderick's agent before he reached his majority. You could have found another way. The Congress can ratify a king, answered Guy, pointing a finger at Arutha. It cannot remove him. I needed a way to take the throne without civil war. I needed a way to take... The war with Zuroni dragged on, and Roderick would not give your father the armies of the East. He wouldn't even give them to me. And I was the only man he trusted. 9 years of a losing war and a mad king, and the nation was bleeding to death. No, it had to end. And no matter how much backing I had, there were those like Brukel and your father who would have marched against me. That's why I wanted Anita for my wife, and you as a bargaining piece. I was ready to offer Boric no choice. Ready to offer Boric a choice. What choice? My preference was to let Boric rule in the West and divide the kingdom, and I let each realm follow its own destiny. But I knew none of the Western laws would have permitted that. So my offer to Boric was to allow him to name the heir after me, even if it were you or Liam. I would have named whoever he chose Prince of Condor, and I would have ensured I had no sons to contest for the crown. But your father would have had to accept me as King of Rillenhorn and swear fealty. Suddenly, Ruth understood this man. He put aside all questions of personal honor after he had lost Arutha's mother to Boric. He had kept one honor above all others, his honor to the kingdom. He had been willing to do anything, even commit genocide, to go down in history as a usurper and traitor, in exchange for removing a mad king. It left a bad taste in Arutha's mouth. With Roderick's death and Liam being named heir, all that became meaningless. Your brother is not known to me, but I expect he shares your father's nature. In any event, the kingdom must be in better hands than when Roderick sat on the throne. Mel, hello, good to see you. What series are we on? We are on A Darkness at Sethanon, which is a part of The Magician or the Rift War saga from Raymond E. Feist. Tiny Irish Viking, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. I mentioned this before. I have a 1994 revised edition of Magician, which is, again, I love old books so much, man. I love them. I've read most, if not all, of the Rift War Universe books. That's a crazy investment, cover. There's so many of them, but I may end up reading a good chunk of them, I'll tell you that. Jared, hello! Hey, Castle, just got done delivering for Amazon for 4 hours. Well, I'm glad you made it out alive. Hello, and it's good to see you. Maleficent, I assume that you're Mel from YouTube, yes? I'm guessing, but I think it's a fair guess. There we go. Well, welcome in. It's good to see you again. They really are. They really are. I don't know if we'll actually ever end up publishing any of my work, but the lady is insisting upon it, and a good number of the folk in the tavern are as well, so I suppose I won't have much of a choice. But I personally, I don't think that I am much of a writer anymore. I used to be pretty good, but that was a long time ago, and I'm well out of practice. Bears, thank you for the heart me over on TikTok, my friend. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. Listen, she does insist that I make books. But I know that there are many of you that would buy books just because I make them. But I don't want that. I appreciate the support, don't get me wrong. But if I am writing a book, I want it to be so very, very good that it would be beloved to you all, and that the story would be something that would fill your heart with joy and whimsy. I don't want people to buy a book just because they like me. And I don't know if it's just my ego talking, it probably is. But I like the idea. It would be better for me that no one know who I am but love the books that I make, rather than people love me specifically and buy bad books just because I made them, I guess, is how it is. I do. We have a festivals book that the lady and I wrote. How can I buy your books if you don't publish it? Which is fair. I just want to make sure they're good before I publish them. At least a little bit good. I know I'll never be as good a writer as I was when I was a young man, but thank you, Ashley. I appreciate your love. I don't even know that I necessarily want to inspire, that's a fine ambition, Matty. I just, if I'm putting out a book, I would like for it to be something that is beloved. I would like for it to be a story that people love. And obviously you can't control what people do, but I would like for it to be a pure story. I don't want there to be, and just so that everyone is aware, if anything that the lady and I make, there is nothing that I will ever make that will have an extra message in it. There's nothing that I will ever make that will have any sort of allegory or political statement or anything in it. If and when I write stories, I write them purely for the joy of the story. It is for the joy of telling a tale and passing it on to all of you. And I want those stories to bring joy and whimsy into people's lives. So why I do what I do. The lady and I, we make over 300 videos a year telling stories from the tavern. And all I care about is making sure that those stories provide joy and laughter and whimsy and wonder to people. Because there's so much, like, people make so much stuff just to make people angry or to start fights, and I'm not here for it. I just want you guys to have a sense of wonder about the world. Bear says, I still want a continuation of the North Gaelic Festival's recipe book. Yeah, I found the document that has all of the recipes in it. The lady and I are going to talk about doing something with it after the first of the year, because we got a lot of stuff coming up between now and then. So, a lot of stuff going on in that way, but if not friend and why friendship could be an entire series, I very well might end up making it one. Oh, because people do tend to love these, hey, that's not a pet, don't pet it videos. Molly Sue, hello, it's good to see you. Which, if you think about it, that is what the tavern is all about, the stories. So it's a valid point about not publishing just to publish. Right. My sense is to wonder what's going to happen next. Oh, yeah, we should probably read, huh? Pets the Kelpie again. I appreciate that, Bear, and I appreciate you, Frost. I really just, and I know there's no such thing as a perfect book, or there's no such thing as something that can meet or live up to the expectations that I probably have for the stories. But at the very least, I want them to be enjoyable. I want them to be something that when people look at it, they understand that there was a lot of love put into it, and that it was a deliberate story, and that it was never something that was intended to try and convince you of anything other than this is a story. This is a story that happened. Because that's really all I care about when I tell these stories. I just want to fill your heart with wonder and whimsy. Because the world is such a miraculous place. The human mind is so wonderful. And here I'm being all sentimental and cheesy, but, you know, is what it is. Alright. Let's continue. What? What? Oh, in your game? Where was I? Okay. Aruth aside. You've given me much to think on, Guy. I don't approve of your reasoning and your methods, but I understand some of it. Your approval's immaterial. I repent nothing of what I have done, and I will admit my decision to claim the throne myself, ignoring your father's place in succession, was done in part from spite. But if I couldn't have your mother, Boric couldn't have the crown. Beyond selfish considerations, I also held the firm conviction I would have made the better king than your father. What I do best is rule, but it doesn't mean I feel good about what I've had to do. No, what I want is your understanding. You don't have to like me, but you must accept me for who and what I am. I need your acceptance to secure the future of Armangar. Yeah? Did the boy close you out? Hang on. Or was it the other dummy that closed this? So, no sleeping. No sleeping. No sleeping. It's too early for you to be sleeping, sir. Exercise only. No sleep. Sorry about that. Somebody closed the door and they couldn't get to their letterbox. Norse mythology, unfortunately, Loki was bored. See, Norse mythology is essentially, unfortunately, Loki was bored, and unfortunately, Odin wouldn't listen to reason. The wisest man in all of Norse mythos couldn't listen to reason.
Hopefully, wasn't what he wanted.
Yeah, yeah. Arutha became silent, feeling discomforted. A memory of a conversation 2 years previous flooded back into his mind. After a long silence, he said, I'm not in a position to judge. I'm remembering a conversation with Liam in our family's burial vault. I was ready to see Martin dead rather than risk civil war. My own brother, he added softly. Oh, hear it. I'm not in any position to judge. I remember a conversation with Liam in our father's vault. I was ready to see Martin dead rather than risk civil war. My own brother, he added softly. Such judgments are a necessary consequence of ruling, he said. He sat back regarding Arutha. At last, he said, how did your decision about Martin make you feel? Arutha seemed reluctant to share that with Guy. Then, after a long silence had passed, he looked directly at the Protector. Dirty. It made me feel dirty. Guy extended his hand. You do understand. Slowly, Arutha took the proffered hand and shook. Now, to the heart of the matter. When we first came here, Amos, Armin, and I were sick, injured, and near starved. These people healed us, strangers from an alien land without question. When we were fit, we volunteered to fight. Then discovered it was expected that all who are able to serve without question. We took our place in the garrison of the city and began to learn of Armangar. The protector before Gwynarth had been an able commander, as was Gwynarth. But both knew little of modern warfare. Nevertheless, they kept the Brotherhood and the goblins under control, keeping a bloody balance of sorts. Then Mandamus came and changed things. When I arrived, the Brotherhood was victorious 3 out of 4 encounters. and the Amangardians were losing, being routinely defeated for the first time in their history. I taught them modern warfare, and again we hold our own. Now nothing comes within 20 miles of the city without being seen by one of our scouts or patrols. But even with that, it is too late. Why too late? Even if Mermandamas weren't coming to crush us, this nation couldn't last another 2 generations. This city is dying. As best I can judge, 2 decades ago, there were perhaps 15,000 people living in this city and in the surrounding countryside. 10 years ago, it was 11 or 12,000. Now it's more like 7 or perhaps even less. Constant warfare, women of childbearing age being killed in battle, children dying when steading or crawl is overrun. It all adds up to a decline in population, a decline that seems to be accelerating. And there's more. It's if years of constant warfare have sapped the strength from these people. For all their willingness to fight, they seem somehow indifferent to the needs of daily living. Culture is twisted, Arutha. All they have is struggle and in the end death. Their poetry is limited to sagas of heroes, and their music is simple battle chants. Have you noticed there are no signs in the city? Everyone knows where everyone else lives and works. Why signs? Arutha, no one born in Armangar can read or write. They don't have the time to learn. It's a nation slipping inexorably into barbarism. Even should there have been no Mermandamas another 2 decades, there would have been no nation. They would be as nomads in Thunderhill. No, it's a constant fighting. I can see now that could give one a sense of utility. What can I do to help? We need relief. I will gladly turn governance of the city over to Bruku. Vandros. Bruku is retired. Vandros, then. Bring Armangar into the Duchy of Yabon. These people fled the kingdom ages ago. Now, they would not hesitate to embrace it, should I but order it. So much have they changed. But give me 2,000 heavy foot from the garrison of Yabon and Tirsor, and I'll hold this city against Mermandamas for another year, and 1,000 more to 2,000 horses, and I'll rid that plain of Isbandia of every goblin and dark brother. Give me the armies of the west, and I'll drive Mermandamas back to Sarsagar, and burn the city to the ground with him inside it. Then we can have commerce, and children can be children, not little warriors. Poets will compose and artists paint. We'll have music and dancing, then maybe the city will grow again. And will you wish to remain protector or as Earl of Armangar? Asked Arutha, not fully rid of his trust. Damn it, said Guy, slamming his hand down on the table. If Liam has the brains of a bag of nails, yes. Guy sagged back into his chair. I'm tired, Arutha. I'm drunk and tired. It's good I was brimmed. I've lost the only thing I've cherished in ages, and all I've left is the need of these people. I'll not fail them. But once they're safe, Arutha was stunned. Before him, Guy bared his soul, and what he saw was a man without much reason left to live. It was sobering. I think I can persuade Liam to agree, if you understand what his attitude towards you will be. I don't care what he thinks of me, Arutha. He can have my head for all of it. His voice again betrayed his fatigue. I don't think I care at all anymore. I'll send messages. Guy laughed, a bitter, frustrated laugh. That, you see, is the problem, dear cousin. You don't think I've been sitting for the last full year hoping the Prince of Krondor might blunder into Armangar? I've sent dozens of messages to Yabon and toward High Castle, outlining in detail the situation here and what I propose to you. The difficulty is that while Merman Damas lets anyone come north, no one, nothing, goes south. That beast hunter you found was one of the last to try for the south. I don't know what happened to the messenger who you escorted, but I can imagine. He let the thought drift off. You see, Ruther, we're cut off from the kingdom, utterly, totally, and unless you've an idea we've not thought of, without prayer. Martin awoke, sputtering and spitting out a mouthful of water. Brianna's laughter filled the room as she tossed a towel at him and replaced the now empty water pitcher.
You're as difficult to wake as a bear in winter.
Blinking as he dried himself off, Martin said, I must be. He fixed her with a black look, and then found his anger slipping away as he regarded her smiling face. After a moment, he smiled in return. And the woods, I'm a light sleeper. Indoors I relax. She knelt upon the bed and kissed him. She was dressed in tunic and trousers.
I must ride out to one of our steadings. Care to come? It's only for the day.
Martin grinned. Certainly. She kissed him again.
Thank you.
For what? He asked, clearly confused.
For staying here with me.
Martin stared at her.
You're thanking me. Of course, I asked you.
You are a strange people, Bree. Most men I know would happily slit my throat to have my... Shush. Most men I know would have happily slit my throat to have had my place here last night. She turned her head slightly, a puzzled look upon her face.
Truly? How odd. I could say the same that most women here. And you, Martin. There's no one who'd fight over something like bed rights. You're free to choose your partners, and they are free to answer yes or no. That's why I thanked you for saying yes.
Martin grabbed her and kissed her, half roughly. In my land, we do things differently. And he let her go suddenly, concerned he'd been too rough. She seemed a little uncertain, but not frightened. Sorry, it's just that... It was not a favour, Ray. She leaned close and rested her head upon his shoulder.
You speak of something beyond the comforts of the bedchamber.
Yes. She was silent for a long time.
Martin, here in Ermengarde, we know the wisdom of not planning too far into the future.
There was a catch in her speech, and her eyes gleamed.
My mother was to have...
Where was I? William, hello and welcome in. We forged Viking-style axes, shields, swords, spears, necklaces. No, wonderful. Spectacular. Where was I?
My mother was to have wed the protector. My father had been dead for 11 years. I would have been a joyous union.
Martin could see the wetness spreading down her cheeks.
Once I was betrothed. He rode to answer a goblin raid on Crow, and he never returned.
She studied his face.
I do not likely make promises, and a night shared is not a vow.
I'm not a frivolous man. She studied his face.
I know,
she said softly.
And I'm not a frivolous woman. I choose partners carefully. There's something here building quickly between us, Martin, I know that. It will come to us as time and circumstances permit. And to worry about the outcome of these things will be wasted effort.
She bit her lower lip as she struggled for the next words.
I am a commander, privy to knowledge most in the city are ignorant of. For the moment, I can only ask you not to expect more than I can give freely.
Seeing his mood darken, she smiled and kissed him.
Come, let's ride.
Martin quickly dressed, uncertain of what had been accomplished, but certain it had been important. He felt the feelings, then he felt both relieved and troubled. Relieved he had stated his feelings, then troubled he had not done so clearly, and her answer had been clouded. Still, he had been reared by elves, and Brianna had said things would come to pass in their own good time. Macy Paul, hello, welcome in. The Badgers, Arthur Christie, hello and welcome in. Good to see you, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me give you a toot on the raid horn. Everybody who's getting ready for sleep, I apologize. You're about to be blasted in the ear a bit. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Enjoy your Viking raspberries there. I'm so very glad that you could join us. I hope you had a good stream, whatever it was you were up to. I presume writing, or at least talking about books. Perhaps reading. Run, Martin, run. Any which way, welcome in, friends. I'm very glad that you could join us. I need to head to bed, but thank you so much. All right, good night, Christy. I appreciate you for the raid. Christy finished reading her own novel. It was so special. Very good, then. I'm glad to hear it. Finale reading stream. What a wonderful joy. Well, we are in the midst of Raymond E. Feist's A Darkness at Sethanon. And we will be... let's see, how much further do we have? I think we have five pages left before we're at the end. So settle in. If you're... Anybody who needs to run off, absolutely okay to do so. And for anybody who is sticking around, we've got a little bit more story time left. So settle in, and if you have any questions, you can flag down one of the barkeeps and they'll let you know what's going on. Spectacular, Macy. It's very good to see you. Welcome in. All right, let us continue. Arutha finished recounting the previous night's conversation to Laurie, Baru, and Roe. The boys had been gone for a day. Martin had not returned to their quarters, and Arutha thought he knew where he had spent the night. Laurie thought long on what Arutha had said and said, "So the population is falling." Or so Guy says. "He's right," said a voice from the door. They looked to discover Jimmy and Locklear standing there, each with his arms about the waist of a pretty girl. Locklear appeared unable to keep his face in repose. No matter how hard he tried, his mouth seemed determined to set itself in a grin. Jimmy introduced Krista and Bronwyn, then said, "The girls were showing us the city. Arutha, there's an entire section standing empty. Some after home with no one living there." Jimmy looked about and discovered a plate of fruit, attacked a pear. "I guess upward of 20,000 people lived here once. Now I guess there's less than half of that." "I've already agreed in principle to help Armangar, but the problem is getting messages back to Yabon. It seems Mamandamus may be lax on letting people in, but he's rigorous in seeing no one gets out." "Makes sense," said Raoul. "Most of those coming north are heading for his camp anyway. So what if a few blunder into his city and help? He's massing his army and can probably drive past here if he chooses," Baru said. I think I can get through if I go alone." Arutha looked interested and Baru said, "I'm a hillman, and there are those people in my kin. They are also city people. And while these people are my kin, they're also city people. Only those who have high standings and cross might have my skill. moving at night, hiding during the day. I should be able to cross over into Gibbon Hills. Once there, no more of the other goblin will be able to keep pace with me.
Getting into the Yabon Hills would be the problem, said Laurie. Remember how those trolls had chased that beast hunter for what, days? I don't know. I'll think on it, Baru, said Arutha. It may be a desperate gamble is all we have, but perhaps there's another way. We might mount a raiding party to get someone up to the crest, then turn and fight our way back, giving whoever goes south as much of a head start as possible. It may not be possible, but I'll discuss it with Guy. If we can't discover another choice, I'll permit you to try, though I don't think anyone alone is necessarily the best. We've managed all right as a small company getting in and out of Moralane.
He rose.
If any of you can conceive of a better plan, I'll welcome it. I'm going to join Guy in inspecting the battlements. If we're stuck here when the assault comes, we might as well lend aid in any way.
He left the room. Guy's hair blew wildly as they looked out over the plain beyond the city. I inspect every inch of this city wall, and I still don't believe the quality of the engineering. Arutha could only agree. The stones used had been cut to a precision undreamed of by the master builders and stonemasons of the kingdom. Running his hand over the joint, he could barely feel where one stone ended and the other began. It was a wall that might have defied Sergeson's engineers had they come. We had some good engineers in our armies, Arutha. I can't see how this wall could have been brought down short of a miracle. He took out his sword and struck hard enough to make the blade ring, then pointed to the merlon where he had struck. Arutha inspected the place and saw only a slight lighter colored scratch. It seems to be a blue granite, like ironstone, but even harder. It's a stone common enough in these mountains, but harder to work than any I've seen. How it was worked is unknown, and the footings below the plinth are 20 feet into the earth, 20 feet from the front to back. I can't even guess how the blocks were moved from the quarries in the mountains. If you could tunnel under it, the best that might happen is the entire wall section might sink down and crush you. And you can't even do that, because the wall sits atop bedrock. Arutha leaned back against the wall, looking at the city and the citadel beyond.
This is easily the most defensible city I've ever heard of. You should be able to handle up to 20 to 1 odds.
10 to 1's the conventional figure for overrunning a castle, but I'm inclined to agree. Except for one thing, my Mandamus' damn magic. He may not be able to bring the walls down, but I'll warrant he's a means to get past them somehow. Else he wouldn't be coming.
You're certain? Why not bottle you up with a small harrying force and move his armies south?
He can't leave us at his back. He had his way with us for a year before I took command. He could have bled us to death by now if I hadn't changed the rules of the game. Over the last 2 years, I've taught our soldiers everything I know, with Armand and Amos helping them learn. They know the advantage of modern warcraft. Now, Mermandamus knows he has an army of 7,000 Armangarians ready to jump up his rear if he turns his back. He can't leave us behind his lines. We'd hamstring him.
So he must rid himself of you first, then turn to the kingdom.
Yes. And if he must do it soon or he loses another season, it turns the winter quickly up here. We see snow weeks before the kingdom. The passes become blocked in days, sometimes in only hours. Once he has moved south, he must be victorious, for he cannot move his army north again until spring. is on a timetable. He must come within the next 2 weeks.
So we must get word out soon.
Guy nodded. Come, let me show you some more. Arutha followed the man, feeling a strange sense of divided loyalties. He knew he must help the Armengarians, but he still was not comfortable with Guy. Arutha had come to the understanding of why Guy had done what he did, and in a strange way he even grudgingly admired him. But he didn't like him, and he knew why he didn't like him. Guy had made him see the similarity in nature common to them, a willingness to do what must be done regardless of the cost. What was I? So far, Ruther had never gone to the lengths Guy had, but he now understood that he might have acted in much the same way had he been in Guy's place. It was a discovery about himself he didn't particularly like. They moved to the city, and Ruther asked about those details observed when they had entered. Amangar. Yes, said Guy. There are no clear lines of fire, so that every turn can hide an ambush. I have a city map in the citadel, and the city is as it's been designed rather than chance. Once you see the pattern, it's easy to know which direction to choose to reach any given point in the city. But without knowing the pattern, it's easy to get turned around, to be led about back to the outer wall. He pointed at a building. Every house lacks windows on the street, and every roof is an artery platform. This city was built to cost any attackers dearly. Soon they were inside the citadel, and saw the boys coming from across the courtyard.
Where are the girls?
Arutha asked. Locklear looked disappointed.
They had to go and do some things before they reported back for duty.
Guy studied the two squires. Well then, come with us if you've nothing better to do. They followed Guy into the first door and down the lift. Miles, thank you for the heart fingers, my friends. I appreciate you for that. Thank you kindly. Miles away, Mel. That's so Mel then. Thank you for the heart. I appreciate you. It's an old sensation remembering reading those words over 20 years ago. Oh, that's right. We should probably we can do the ads here real quick. We'll break here for a second since what's not a whole lot going on. Good night, Mega King. I don't know if you can hear me. The ad's probably already started, but thank you for joining us, my friend. I hope we'll see you back again soon. But until next time, I hope you rest well and that you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you kindly. So we're almost at the end of this chapter, and we're actually coming up. We're gonna hit the end of Storytime and the chapter at about the same time. So that's very good. Yeah, I'm thinking that we didn't get to do our readathon this year, but I'm thinking we will do the readathon maybe in January. We might, because we've been so caught up and busy doing other things. Maybe we'll do the readathon in January, and we'll start like we usually do with The Hobbit, and we'll go as far into the Lord of the Rings as the readathon takes us. There's a lot of reading to be done when you're going through the Lord of the Rings, that's to be sure. That is to be sure. Just want to make sure I haven't missed anyone. Alright. Oh, Guy, I forgot to say this last time. If you are on the YouTube portal or the Facebook portal, if you respond to somebody else, I don't see it in the main bulletin board. Olga, I didn't see that second message. I really enjoy your folklore videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you kindly, Olga. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you enjoy them. It is my absolute pleasure to be your guys' storyteller. I mean it. The lady and I desperately love what we do. I lost half my books to a fire, including all the Rift War books. That is terrible. Ravendu, hello, welcome in. So very good to see you. I'm glad you could join us. Alright, everyone should be back. The ad should be done. And we can go ahead and continue. Just 3 more pages left in Storytime for tonight. I got The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings books, but not read yet. Well, they are... I will say, you have to make sure you set expectations going in, because I don't know how much of a fan you are of Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit is a very wonderful novel. It is designed to be like a children's fairy tale. The Lord of the Rings is meant to be more like a historical novel. So it's meant to read more like a historical saga. So it's a little bit more dry novelistically than The Hobbit is. It's still a wonderful novel. It's got beautiful, rich details and dialogue. The characters are wonderful, but it is more of a thing. Oh, Mega King, I thought you had already dipped out. Goodbye, my friend. Thank you for dropping in. It means the world that you spent story time with us. I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope that you rest well. I hope you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. And if you're celebrating, I hope you celebrate a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I hope that you have a spectacular holiday with your family, friends, or even if you're spending it by yourself. Oh, you said you were doing something. I hope that you have a good time for your Thanksgiving. I'm liking that Castle is using the dishcloth as a prop for the vids, almost like a real barman. Almost like a real barman. It's like how my demigod story is more hidden what-if historical fiction. Right. Yeah, the Lord of the Rings is quite literally and it was really good to have you in, Mega King. I hope we'll see you again. We love getting new regulars in the tavern. It's always a joy having folk join us for story time. We love it. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. Obviously, only come back if you enjoy yourself. That's for all of you. If only come back to the tavern if you enjoy yourself. I'd never want to armbar anybody into forcing you to come back for stories. Thank you, Frost. I appreciate you. We do enjoy Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But you see, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are both real in-world books from Middle-earth. The Hobbit is a book that Tolkien translated, or at least this is the premise, translated, that was written by Bilbo Baggins, called There and Back Again. So it's a real book in Middle-earth. And then you have the Red Book of Westmarch, which is a historical novel of sorts, a historical chronicle of the Fellowship of the Rings as it went north to destroy the ring in the fires of Mount Doom and the cracks of Doom. And that was written by Frodo, Bilbo, and finished up by Samwise Gamgee. Excuse me. That reminds me, I need to restock the beer fridge like since the cyclone. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kova. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Molly. Speaking of, I need some feedback on a few outlines on my demigod story, which will include my Jack the Ripper, my Greek, Slavic, and demigod stories, let alone the nearly done overall story Bible. so you need to make sure that you are, before you move on to new ones, you need to look at getting that first book polished for publishing, Matty. Because you've done a lot of work. But before you get too far in, you need to make sure that you get that first book polished for publishing. Elsie has an appointment on the 26th of January. We hope not to miss the reading marathon. Hopefully, I'll let you guys know well ahead of time if we do the readathon then. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate you both. Alright, let's finish up, shall we? They followed Guy into the first floor and down the lift. Guy rang the bell, giving the code to raise them to the highest roof. Reaching it, they looked down upon the city and plain beyond. Armengar. His hand swept across the horizon. There, he pointed, is the plain of Isbandia, cut across by the Vale of Isbandia. The limit of our holdings is to the northwest. The plain beyond that is Murmundamasi. To the east, Edda Forest. Almost as vast as Blackwood or the Greenheart. We don't know much about it, save we can only safely lumber at the edges. Anyone who goes more than a few miles deep tends not to be seen again. He pointed to the north. Beyond the vale is Sarsagar. If you're especially bold, you can climb the hills at the north edge of the vale and look across the plain to see the lights of the city's twin. Jimmy studied the war engines upon the roof. I don't know a lot about this, but can those catapults shoot beyond the outer wall? No, was all Guy said. Come along. They all moved back to the lift and Guy pulled the cord. Arutha noticed that there was some code used to indicate up or down, and he supposed the number of floors. They descended to the ground floor and then lower yet. They reached a sub-basement several levels below the ground, and Guy led them from the platform. They passed a giant winch arrangement with a team of 4 horses hitched to a large wheel, which Arutha supposed was the power source for the lift. It certainly looked impressive, with the large tongue and groove wheels, the strange multiple ropes and pulley arrangement, but Guy ignored the horse team and drivers walking past them. He pointed at the large door barred from the inside. That's the boat hold out there. We keep it sealed, for by some fluke or another, when the doors open, a constant breeze blows through there. Something to be avoided. Opposite the large door stood another, which he opened, leading them into a natural tunnel. He took a strange-looking lantern from beside the door, one that glowed with a lower level of light than expected. Guy said, "This uses some sort of alchemy to give off light. I don't understand it, but it works. We risk no flames here. You'll see why." Jimmy had been examining the walls, pulling off a white, flaky substance. He rubbed it between his thumb and forefinger and sniffed. "I understand," he said, making a face. "Naphtha." "Yes," Guy looked at Arutha. "He's a sharp one."
So he's quick to remind me. How did you know? Remember the bridge south of South last year? The one I fired to keep Marad and the Black Slayers crossing. That's what I used. Distillation of naphtha.
"Come," said Guy, taking them through another door. The reek of tar assailed their noses as they entered the chamber. Strange-looking large buckets were hung from chains. A dozen shirtless men labored to maneuver the buckets down into a huge pool of black liquid. The odd lanterns burned about the cavern, but mostly the place was shrouded in darkness. "We've tunnels honeycombing this entire mountain, and this stuff is found in all of them." There's some natural source of naphtha below, and it constantly bubbles to the surface. We must keep taking it off, or it seeps upward into the basements of the city, through the cracks of the bedrock. If work is halted, the stuff would be pooling in the cellars of the city within a few days. But as the Amangarians have been doing this for years, it's under control.
I can see why you don't want to risk fire.
Said Locklear in the open window. In open wonder. Far as we can handle, we've had a dozen as recently as last year, briefly. What we've discovered, or rather that the Armangarians have discovered, is some of the uses for this stuff we don't have in the kingdom. He motioned for them into another chamber, where odd-looking coils of tubing ran between vats. Here, we do the distillation, and some other mixing. I understand a tenth of it, but the alchemist can explain. They make all manner of things from this naphtha, even some odd salves that keep wounds from festering. But one thing they've found is the secret of making Quagan fire.
Quagan fire?
Arutha exclaimed. They don't call it that, but it's the same stuff. The walls are limestone, and it's limestone dust that turns naphtha into Quagon fire oil. Fling it from a catapult and it burns, and even the water won't put it out. That's why we've been so careful, for it doesn't just burn. He looked at Locklear. The fumes are heavy, hugging the ground, but if you let the fumes build up, vent them with a lot of air, they hit a spark, the fumes explode. He pointed towards the far cavern, loaded up with the wooden barrels. That storage cave wasn't there 10 years ago. When a barrel is empty, it's filled again, or put underwater until used. Some dolt left 3 empties standing about, and somehow a spark hit one, and just the amount of stuff which soaks into the wood, then evaporates, can give off a tremendous explosion. That's why we keep the doors closed. The breeze off the mountains through the bolt hole can vent this entire complex in a day or two. And if all this went up at once, he let their imaginations provide the picture. I've had the Amangarians making this for 2 years now, to give Mermandamus a warm welcome when he comes.
How many barrels?
Asked Arutha. Over 25,000. Arutha was staggered. When he had met Amos, the pirate, who had 200 barrels in the hold of his ship, in fact not known to the Surani raiders who had set fire to his ship, when it had gone up, it had blown a column of fire hundreds of feet into the air, engulfing the ship in an instant, incinerating it within minutes. The light of the flames had been seen for miles up and down the coast. If half the town hadn't been burned by Surani raiders, the fire would have devastated Crady.
That's enough.
To fire the entire city, finished Guy.
What, so much?
Asked Jimmy. Something you must understand, all of you. The Amangarians have never thought of leaving here. In their judgment, there's no other place to find refuge. They came north to flee the kingdom, so they thought they couldn't return south. On every side they saw enemies. Should the worst occur, they'll fire this city rather than let Mermandamus capture it. I've developed a plan beyond that, but now the case. A lot of fire could prove useful. He returned toward the tunnel leading to the lift, the others following behind. Martin sat resting against a tree. He kissed Brianna's hair as she sank deeper into his arms. She stared off into some unseen place. Before them, a small brook wound its way through the stand of woods, shrouding them in soft, cool shadows. Her patrol had broken for a noontime meal, which was being provided by the local farmers. She and Martin had stolen away to spend the time alone. The woodland setting put Martin more at ease than he had been in months, but still he was troubled. They had made love under the trees and now were simply finding pleasure in each other's company. But Martin still felt a lack inside. In her ear he said, "Pray, I wish this could go on forever." She sighed and wiggled a little.
I also, Martin. You're such a man as another I knew. I think I could not wish for more.
When this is finished, she cut him off.
When this is finished, then we can talk of things. Come, we must get back.
She dressed quickly, Martin openly admiring her. She had none of the frail beauty of the women he had known at home. There was leather toughness to her makeup, tempered by a deep feminine quality. She was not a pretty woman by any standards, but she was striking, and those arresting qualities of self-confidence and self-reliance. Martin saw in her she was stunning, even beautiful. In all ways, he had become captivated by her. He finished dressing, and before she could move away, reaching out, he took her by the arm, turning her and bringing her to him. With a deep passion, he kissed her, and then said, "I need not speak, but you know my need and my desire. I have waited for you too long." She looked up into his dark eyes. She reached up and touched his face.
And I you.
She kissed him gently.
We must return.
He let her lead him back to the village. A pair of the guardsmen were walking toward them when they left the woods. They halted, and one said,
Commander, we'd just about come to fetch you.
She regarded the second man, not one of her company.
What is it? The Protector commands all patrols ride out in order. The steadings and crows abandoned. Everyone is to move at once to the city. My man Damas's army is on the march. They will stand outside the walls within the week.
Brianna said,
Orders to ride. We shall split the patrol. Grenlin, you'll take half and head down to the lowland crows and river steadings. I'll take the ones up higher along the ridge. The moment you finish, ride back as quickly as possible. The Protector will know we'll need all the scouts he can muster. Now go.
She looked back at Martin.
Come, we have much to do.
And so ends chapter 10 of A Darkness at Sethanon. We did not skip a page. This chapter is just bouncing around a lot because it's going back and forth between the three different perspectives, so it's bouncing around quite a bit. Martin is most definitely in love, that is for sure. He is as smitten as a man could possibly be. Mel, I'm very glad that you enjoyed. I hope that you all enjoyed. And I'm all out of water. What a shame. Poor Martin. Alright, friends, what do we say we do 2 songs before I send everybody off for the night, shall we? Miles Away Mel, thank you for subscribing over on YouTube. I hope that you'll enjoy the story times over there. My love, my darling, what songs ought we sing for the end of the evening? We could do Rye Whiskey, that's a good one. I'm polishing in the background. Also, speaking of, have you had a chance to see my edit And if so, is the story better? I'm going to go through it once more once book 3 is done so I can see what I need foreshadowing between the books. I haven't had a chance to look at really anything outside of the few times that I've been able to sit actively in your streams, Matty. The lady and I have been absolutely swamped for the last 2 months. I'm going to have to take my leave, Castle. Thank you for the story as always. Frost, off to bed with you, my friend. May you rest well and may you rise tomorrow, ready to conquer the damn day, my friend. I'd request Tales of Loria, but it is too early. I haven't quite had a chance for it yet. Castle, thank you for sharing such a compelling story. Always my pleasure, Esther. Always my pleasure. Closing time. One last call for alcohol, so finish your whiskey or beer. Closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Damn right. Damn right. Mostly that. Esther would like for you to do Soldier Poet King. Would you be willing and ready, my love? The lady has agreed to give us a song. So we'll do, yeah, let's do Red as the Rose and Rye Whiskey. I think those will be two wonderful ones, and then the lady will do Soldier Poet King. My voice is very worn out this evening from all of the videos we've been doing, so we're going to keep it to the 2, and then the lady will do her 1. Good night, Mary Beth. Rest well. I'm so glad you're able to join us. And we'll look forward to seeing you possibly on Thursday. We'll see what's up. We do songs we try to do songs every time. Sometimes I get a little bit caught up and we don't get around to songs, but most of the time we do songs. And we try to do different ones every time. That way we get to learn some new songs together when we sing. Alright, let's see. Let's do Rye Whiskey. Let's see, what's a good one? Okay, alright. First we're doing Rye Whiskey. I hope Tale of Luria is a better fit for your voice overall. Well, we'll have to see. I'm learning the one that Bear requested of me. But I'm not quite there yet. So we're gonna I'll probably have that one ready for next month. By the way, again, if you've requested a song from me and I haven't learned it yet, send it to me over on in the guild on Discord, since we're moving the guild. Also, we're now 2 weeks into the second month of the Tavern Tales quest, where you can write a story that will be published as a Tavern Tale at the end of next year. And we're doing a different writing prompt every single month, with a 6-week window for writing a fresh, brand new story to be immortalized in the tavern. So any of you who are writers who have not yet participated, I strongly recommend going to check that out over in the guild if you're not in the guild already. And with that, let us begin with Rye Whiskey. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If the hard times don't kill me, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. I think my question got missed earlier, but where are the movie nights gonna be? The movie nights for now will be in both Gilded and Discord, but eventually they will be only in Discord because Gilded is going away. But for now, I'll do them in both whenever we do them. Both, Bear, both. I'll tune up my fiddle and rosin my bow. I'll make myself welcome wherever I go. Beefsteaks when I'm hungry, red booze when I'm dry, doubloons when I'm hot up, and religion when I die. They say I drink whiskey, my money is my own, and them that don't like me can leave me alone. Sometimes I drink whiskey, sometimes I drink rum, sometimes I drink brown ale, and other times none. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If the hard times don't kill me, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. But if I get boozy, my whiskey's my own, and them that don't like me can leave me alone. Jack of Diamonds, Jack of Daniels, I know you of old. You've robbed me poor pockets of silver and gold. Oh, whiskey, you villain, you've been my downfall. You've kicked me and cuffed me, but I've loved you for all. If the ocean were whiskey and I was a duck, I'd dive to the bottom and drown to get drunk. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If the hard times don't kill me, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. My foot in the stirrup, her scarf in my hand. I pray thee, sweet Lily, she'll find a good man. Her parents don't like me, they say I'm too poor, unfit and unworthy to enter her door. Sweet milk when I'm hungry, rye whiskey when dry. If a tree don't fall on me, I'll live till I die. I'll buy my own whiskey, I'll make my own stew, and when I get drunk, all it's because of you. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If the hard times don't kill me, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. I'll drink my own whiskey and finish your wine. Some 10,000 bottles I've killed in my time. I've no wife to quarrel, no babies to bowl. The best way of living's with no wife at all. On Moloch Mountain I wander alone. I'm drunk as the devil, oh leave me alone. You may boast of your wisdom and brag of your blood. We'll both be forgotten in the wake of the flood. I'll eat when I'm hungry, I'll drink when I'm dry. If things don't get better, I'll lay down and die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I sigh. I've run out of rye whiskey, I might as well die. Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I cry. If you don't give me rye whiskey, I surely will die. Thank you for the song, my friends. Always lovely. Try my own hand distilling whiskey. The still exploded. So just de brewing beer.
My grandfather and two of my uncles, they brew poteen and whiskey, and it is a dangerous business to be in, to be sure. All right, so we had rye whiskey and then red is the rose. All right, we ready, friends? Dimples! Hello, love. Good to see you. I hope you and Digger are all right and doing well. Not all right. I hope you're both thriving. That's what I hope. It's very good to see you. Caught us just in time for our ending songs. We're doing Red is the Rose now. Come over the hills, my bonny Irish lass. Come over the hills to your darling. You choose the road, love, and I'll make the vow. And I'll be your true love forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the boyne. But my love is fairer than any. 'Twas down by Killarney's green woods that we strayed, when the moon and the stars, they were shining. The moon it shone its rays on her locks of golden hair, and she swore she'd be my love forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the boyne. But my love is fairer than any. It's not for the parting that my sister pains. It's not for the grief of my mother. It's all for the loss of my bonny Irish lass, that my heart is breaking forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the boyne. But my love is fairer than any. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the boyne. But my love is fairer than any. Oh, my love is fairer than any. Thank you for the songs, my friends. Absolutely lovely.
With that, I must take my leave. Thank you for a great night. Sending all the love. Good night, Ashley. Thank you for holding up the bar over on TikTok for us. It is appreciated. Make sure you have a wonderful rest of your evening and give Mateus an absolutely slobbery kiss from all of us. I don't remember the River Boyne being that clear to me. Well, it's not anymore. There aren't many clear rivers left in Ireland, to be fair. You're absolutely welcome, Esther. Absolutely welcome. Coffee stout. The lady likes a coffee stout as well. Good night, Molly. Fan of the ladies singing. Are you ready, my dear? All right. I'm sending the equipment your way. In some versions of the story called, I guess. There are a bunch of versions of the story. So in some it was in the Tobar Sagas, and some it was in the River Boyne, and some it was, you know, Boyne was the river that was created after Necton found out that Boyne had born a son. I think it was either with Lou or with the Dagda, and that was how one of the versions of how Angus was born. The lady is wise indeed. Coffee stout is my favorite. Coffee everything is my favorite.
Because it's good.
Yes, indeed.
Alrighty, we ready?
All right, here comes song for the lady. Everybody, shh.
Oh, yeah.
Or you won't be able to hear them.
Alright. There will come a soldier who carries a mighty sword. He will tear your city down. Ole, ole, oh Lord. Ole, 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 oh Lord. He will tear your city down. Ole, ole, oh Lord. There will come a poet whose weapon is his word. He will slay you with his tongue. Ole, ole, oh Lord. Ole, 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 oh Lord. He will slay you with his tongue. Ole, ole, oh Lord. There will come a ruler whose brow is laden thorn, smeared with oil like David's boy. Ole, ole, oh Lord. Ole, 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 oh Lord. Smeared with oil like David's boy. Ole, ole, oh Lord.
There we go. Thank you, my lady. Deeply appreciated. I'll turn this down so I don't blow you guys' eardrums out. All right, my friends, that will be all for this evening. If you are with us over on Twitch, we'll raid out to share the love. But for everyone else, this is where Storytime ends with the night. Love the lady's voice. Yes, I do too. I'm quite fond of it. You could say I look forward to it every morning. Well, if we're being honest, I look forward to it every afternoon. I should have put cash in for my stream when I was streaming with Una to see. That's true, you could have done that. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed. Yeah, the lady has a very lovely voice. My coffee stout will sit you on your bum if you're not used to high alcohol beers. Well, and fair enough. Dimples, I'm glad you were able to drop in. I hope that you and Digger have a wonderful, absolutely wonderful rest of your day. And we will look forward to seeing you all back again very, very soon. But for everyone who is not in the Twitch portal, oh, the lady knocked me down here. There we go. Fixed it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with us in the tavern this evening. Know that we adore you all. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season. We may be back on Thursday. I will let you all know over in the guild if these things happen. Did I miss your comment again? I'm sorry, Tyson. Where was it? I have 4 more lessons in my level 2 technician train, and then I have my applied exam for regional trainer, and then I'll be an official technician. Hell yes, brother. That's excellent. Absolutely spectacular. Well,
I thought I read yours, so I must have just read it in my head. Esther says, thank you for the song, and it was beautifully done. I thought I said that out loud, but apparently I didn't. My brain read it out loud. I cannot be held responsible for things that are being read aloud in my brain that you guys don't hear, okay? It's not my fault. I'm becoming a reg in Falcor because of you. I need to find other folks that we can raid so we're not always raiding the same people, unless you guys like raiding the same people, which is fine. Alright, friends, this is all for the evening. I must close the doors for now, but until next time, my friends, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty, and we will see you next time. Have a good night, friends, and have a good holiday. We may see you on Thursday. I'll let you all know. Until then, good night, my friends.